at 6 p.m. Let's begin with the pledge to the flag. What? A pledge to the flag. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance
to
to
the
the
flag
flag
of
of
the
the
United States of America and to the
the
republic
republic
for which it
for
stands,
which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation
under God,
under God,
indivisible, with
indivisible,
liberty
with
and
liberty
justice
and
for all.
justice for all. Okay, do we need to adjust the agenda?
We have to do roll call of directors.
Oh my God, okay, roll call of directors. Okay, first night. Director Nyman,
Here,
Director Garcia,
Here.
Terry, what's your last name?
Kelly.
Director Kelling,
Terry Kelling,
I'm here.
Lisa,
Here.
and I'm here. So we're all here. Public comments? Is there anyone sitting
Actually,
in?
now we would be discussion just agenda.
Oh, yeah, okay. Do
So,
we need to adjust?
yeah, I think we may want to move number 10. Let's see, presentation on vote district rate and fee. So number 9, not 10, number 9 up to after the board member initiatives.
Okay, is that a motion?
Yes, I move that we place 9 after the board member initiatives, number 5.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call of directors. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman,
Aye.
Director Schoenberg,
Aye.
and that's an aye for me. And so we have moved that up. Now, is there anyone in the public that wants to make comment?
500, Director Gibson.
Thank you. That sounded snotty.
I'm not being snotty. I apologize.
Okay,
if
good.
It sounds like that.
Okay. Okay, public comments? If there's no one here in the public that has anything to say, we will go to report of officers. President, I have nothing to say. Vice President?
I don't have anything.
Secretary?
No, negative.
Treasurer?
I just have to, me and Lisa have to get together to figure out the bonds, what we need to put away for our bonds for this year. And also we need to take a look at the account for the Lake of the Woods planning and make sure that all the transfers have been made as far as when we've gotten reimbursement on the claims. So we need to get together to do that yet. So that's all I got.
What bond? Is that the bond for
Yeah,
board members?
for our loans that we have the replacement
Oh.
fund and we put out reserve. We put out a specific amount every month that we transfer into those accounts and
Yeah,
have to.
that's done right now. That's done until October.
You've already done it until October?
Yeah, but we can sit down and I can show you that. Yeah, that's done. I thought you were talking about the other bonds, which we also need to make sure that we do, which are the director's bonds, which I believe come up in a calendar year, I think, and not necessarily our fiscal year, but we need to double check on that.
Yeah. So that's a Tiffany thing, right?
Yes.
Yes. So there, when we get further in the agenda, and I think somewhere on the agenda there, it talks about the different ad hoc committees and how we're going to delegate that because there's some crossover that we need to be careful of. So just need to delegate duties for each committee later on in the agenda, because it's a little confusing, but yes.
Okay. Okay, now, JPI representative, do you have anything to report?
I have nothing, but I know I need to get with you so I can understand what that is even all about.
Yeah, I mean, there's not that much, but yeah, of course. I'll tell you everything I know. It'll take about 2 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
Board member initiatives, are there any?
No.
Okay, then number 9, discussion, presentation, vote on the district rate and fee study. Is that RCAC?
That's David. He's here and he's going to present to us. And I think, Tiffany, we need to make sure that you can share the screen for his present, that he can share.
That's already on. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Oh, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. Anyways, Lisa kind of introduced me. I'm with RCAC, and you guys asked the state to come in and do a update of your rate study. So this is kind of update to see where you're going with, because you stopped your last 2 rate increases, and so you performed your first 3 rate increases. So working with the ad hoc committee, we kind of went over the real goals to see where you're going and how much increases it will take to kind of get you back to positively putting away enough money for capital improvement projects. So I'm going to go ahead and start my screen. And everybody see my screen yet or no?
Tiffany, did you give him permission to share?
Yes, she did already. I don't see it yet.
No.
Hang on. Now, do you see it?
Oh,
No.
Okay, let's do it this way. Screen 1. Do you see it now or no?
No.
Negative.
All right.
What if you just open it up on your desktop and share desktop? Are you on a computer or phone?
Yeah, I'm on a computer.
Yeah,
I'm trying.
sometimes that's easier if you just open it and then just share. Yeah, here we see it now.
There you go.
All right. Now let's get to the right one. Okay. Let's see. Everybody seeing it now?
So just can I just give a little background while you're pulling that up? Yeah, we see it.
Okay.
I just wanted to say to the board, so what David was referencing is that the last time we did the Prop 218 rate study, the same organization, RCAC, had the state had gone over things for us. And we were at a 10%. We hadn't raised rates for so long that in order to be solvent, we weren't even solvent at that point for a few years. We needed to raise rates by about 10% a year over a 5-year period. So that's what this is, but and David will show that, but we're looking at a much, much less steep increase, just basically kind of a cost of living.
Has it been 5 years?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, what happened is the first 3 years we raised rates, And the last 2 years, we decided not to raise rates because of COVID
Okay.
and other things. So we've been at the 3 year. So we raised rates 10% over 3 years. I'm not even sure if we did the 10% the third year or not. I think we might have done less than the 10%. I'm not sure. And then the last 2 years we were flat. We didn't raise rates at all. And just when David gets to this, we're not. Last time we raised both the base rate and the capacity, and David's gonna be talking about just a base rate increase.
It'll make it more predictable. People will know, everybody will know exactly what they're paying according to their base rate, not according to how much water they use. So, you ready?
Yeah,
Yes.
sorry, I was.
Okay, the goal, that committee's goal was to try and reduce things down so you can get as close as you can to being positive, which means putting in enough money to cover your capital improvement off into the future. So I'm just going to go over, we already missed year one with COVID. So we started this back in 2020, but COVID kind of hit this study like it hit everything else. People were sick, people, were out. So we've already missed that first year. So this is going along in 2021 without anything. And you can see it was sinking. And if you did nothing else, this would keep sinking until this got over here to 25. You'd be at like about 90 to 100,000 less going into your capital improvement plan. So this is you have positive cash flow, period. You have enough to meet your bills. The red is telling you how much more you need to put into your capital improvement reserve. So with increases starting next year at 1%, and then the following year at 2%, 3%, and the ad hoc committee wants to hold it at 3%, you will start, once you get over here to year 4, you'll start seeing how you're starting to drop. You're putting more money away, so your deficit is less. If you actually make year 5 4%, you'd be blue all the way across here. You'd be plus like $1,400. So you would be fully vested in your capital improvement plan. So right now you're just missing. You would be missing 13,000 out of being totally vested in your capital improvement plan. So that's kind of where you're going. If you do nothing, this starting out at 393 ends up being like 290 something dollars. You're already 100,000 down. You won't be putting away enough, over the 5 years or off into the future. So to give you an idea of where that means difference in what it is, residents, you can see you're not even $1 more. You're like 80 something cents or whatever.
Yeah.
Or, go ahead. But it's only like 90 cents, less than 90 cents for the first year. And you can see how it's just gradually ramping up to a grand total of $6.31 more over.
Well, isn't our current base rate 66.50?
Yes.
So
66.55 or something like that.
so it's going up $2.10 on well, it's going up, so it's going up what, $1.50 or something the first year.
Yeah, because remember, David, we missed the first year. So
Yeah, you missed the first year. I'm sorry.
It's okay. So it's gonna go up just a little bit more, but the ad hoc had discussed how our rates, when we did the 10% over a couple of years to try to catch up, we we already put ourselves at a fairly high tier. And because our entire community is severely disadvantaged, we kind of looked at not, getting too crazy with this, trying to keep it really, really reasonable for people, especially since we're still in COVID. And at the same time, make sure that we're putting some money, enough money away to be able to pay some, we have all these projects with wells and everything to be able to pay whatever the loan grants are not going to cover.
And I need to go back and adjust the sheet because I don't know why it's showing that first year increase like that. But the bottom line is you're not going to increase rates, not like you were seeing at 10% increases.
So basically over a 4-year period, the base rate is going to go up $8.05.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's not.
And that's over a 4-year period, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's for residents with a 3/4 inch pipe.
Yeah, for a 3/4
Right.
inch.
With 1 inch, it goes up, a little more than that, but it's still within, not too crazy.
Yeah, and your customer base is mostly all in 3/4 and 1 inch. You only have, let's see, mostly all 3/4 because you got 22 1 inch, 1 inch and a half, and 10 2 inch, and then 2 6s. That's your customer base. So 90-something% are the ones, on that, at that 3/4 inch level. So any questions? I mean, if you do change this to 4, you actually do go blue. If you change any of these by 0.5%, you go blue earlier. So it's up to you guys. That's pretty much close.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, if we were in a bad way 5 years ago when we did the rate study, do you mean during that 5 years we've corrected it all to where now we're almost all in the blue?
No. If you stay at your present rates, let me bring up another. Hang on 1 second.
But we were able to put away some capital improvement over the last.
Yeah, you've put away. You've funded all your reserves, and you've put away money into the capital improvement reserve. So you're meeting that.
And we've spent down because we've had to pay for things. So we have spent down on some, major projects like Wolf Booster projects that came directly out of our capital reserve, but we had enough money in there from the 10% to be able to actually fix that when we couldn't get a grant or loan for it. So because we didn't have enough time, that was an emergency. So
and keep in mind that this is not accounting for the heavy inflation that we've had over the last 2 years. I mean, this is because a lot of our material costs have doubled, and that's really not accounted for in this rate study. But
no, we've set you at 2.9, which was the rate, because if we put you at 6, then it's going to tell you to put away a lot more money. And I'm not a gambler, but the trend is sometime this year we should start going back to lower inflation. So then it would be telling you to put away actually more money than you would need to fund for it.
exactly.
So you kind of have to weigh the ups and downs of the economy. So historically 2.9 is the historic number they use.
I'm hoping that's correct, because today I went to our supplier and I couldn't get even a curb stop or a meter, and everything is backed up so far. I think people are charging whatever they want to charge because supply and demand.
Yeah, a lot of that is what we hear on the news every night, the containers. But almost everything a water utility buys is a commodity. And when commodities are in short supply, the prices get jacked up. Look at our gasoline right now. They can produce the same amount they did 2 years ago, but you know, it's a commodity. It's based off people making money without actually selling anything physically to you. So, all right.
Okay, so what else do we need to discuss about this?
You guys, do you want to go with this? Do you want to go blue? Or are you fine with holding it at 3 and being just below blue?
Yeah,
That's-
I think what we were thinking is at least this was my opinion, that you know, we're already at a pretty good base rate. So going up the 1% and 2%, 3%, I think is not so onerous. And I think that if we try to go any more than that, I think it's going to be too tough on our community. And so that's why I'm recommending we go with this.
As am I. We're the ad hoc. Part of this too is that we have been really blessed over the last, period of time to get a number of grants. And so we, have not added to our loans right now. We're working on quite a few projects where we're hopefully, and we already have been promised, some of those projects entirely. And then we're waiting on, some of the other projects. But I think that, that capital improvement is for, stuff that will not be covered by, because you can never guarantee even a loan, but grants for sure. However, we still have about 500,000 in our capital, that's gonna again probably be paid down some of these projects that we have going on. But that, I think the goal is to get us, is it to $1 million back up so that if we have an emergency?
Yeah, you guys, that's your wallet. You guys said it. The whole idea of the most capital improvement plans is have an upper threshold limit, build up to that, then go out and fix everything you can with that money, and then build it back up. And, so like every 2 years or every 3 years, you'll have a chip program going on, replacing pipes, replacing service lines, upgrading tanks, do remediation on tanks. It just gives you so that you don't have to immediately borrow. The other thing, Lisa, you talked about.
It's actually 1.9 right now on this one, correct? As opposed to, it was 1
That's
million.
just telling you how much you'd put away in 5 years.
Right.
It's, that's just the number. So it's basically, if you put away almost 2 million, you put away 2 million by the time this thing would be done. Okay. The key thing I'd like to point out to everybody, you guys have done really good. You've positioned yourself to get those grants. And you did that by your first 3 raises, because back then, this bottom line here called the affordability index, you are what's considered in our state is a severe DAC, which means you have disadvantaged. You're a severe disadvantaged community, meaning you're at the top of the list to get grant money if you keep this number between 2 and 4. And you guys are keeping it around 2, which you're telling the people that are going to pass out the grant that you're worthy of the grant because you've already done everything you can with rates, but you still don't have enough money to do everything. So you've positioned yourself well to get grants. Okay.
That's great news.
So
Yeah, it is.
well,
And then-
going into this 6 year, 2016, you were down around 1%, 1 point something percent, which tells somebody that's going to give you money. They only want to, and don't quote me, folks. This is my impression of the system, but they want to give money to a winner. So a winner is somebody that's going to take the money and do good things with it. And the state will then say, hey, look what Fraser Park did with the money, instead of giving money and then not taking care of stuff and letting it run down again. That makes sense?
Yes, absolutely.
hmm
Everybody loves a winner.
Yes. So you guys have done a lot. I mean, I can imagine those 310s were a hardship for everybody, but that hardship's going to be rewarded with the ability to get 90% grant, where you stick in 10 and they give you 9 cents on, 90 cents on the dollar, which,
Yeah,
or
but-
they may give you 100% forgiveness, but you're going to get a better deal than going off to the USDA and applying for a loan and having to pay interest,
Right, absolutely.
So,
Well, it's real encouraging that our numbers are up. I can't tell you how encouraging that is. Now, what do we do from here? Do we need to make a motion of some kind about accepting this?
There's two parts. So there's the part that David's just covered, and then there's a second part, which are all of our fees. So this is
the first,
base rate. We're not talking about increasing the capacity at all this time. And then we also are adjusting some of our fees. So I don't know, David, do you want us to, maybe
Yes,
you could go through all of the fees as well, and then we can just make a motion to accept this or to make changes as the director sees fit.
okay. As far as my part of this, guys, we were hired for the rate study. So if you motion the rate study, it's said here, then that part goes in and we start that. And I'll show you the fees, because when we first came into this, Lisa asked that I look at your fees to make sure they're in line with all the measures for 218 and stuff, which basically means you can't charge somebody more than it costs you to do business. So we'll move to rates next. But as far as motion goes, this part, the rate study motion, you just tell me you're going to do it, and I will, and I'll correct this number over here at the 68. So, but this is for the rate study. Now we'll go to part
Okay,
two.
Well, let me go ahead. So, actually, I guess I shouldn't move this because I'm on the ad hoc. So someone else should either accept this as is, or if you feel that we should do something different with the 1, 2, 3, 3% raise that we proposed, then you would want to do that now, and then we would want to vote on that.
Okay, I will ask the question. What would be the rate at the end of 4 years if we change the second 3%?
$74.55 would be the
How
base rate. $74.55, and the consumption rate stays the same, whatever it is currently.
And that 4% will put us all in the blue, he said.
Yeah, I can show you that if you guys are patient for a minute.
Oh,
My computer's
I
not.
just think it's a small increase to achieve what we've been trying to achieve, and that is to be sustainable in the long run.
It's kind of up to you. You know your rate payers. I don't. So
Well,
just give it a minute.
7 or even $10 over 4 years. I mean,
Yeah, that's. But I live out on the coast here in Santa Maria,
uh-huh.
and I have to tell you that you're there. You go. Now you're plus $1,459. So at that point you're blue, and then you can back it down to inflation rate after that, and you'll stay in blue.
So your base rate at the fifth year, well, actually the fourth year is $75.28, Jerry.
Yep.
I think that's very acceptable.
That's not year 5. So give us the amount for year 5.
Well, we're only going up for 4 years.
Yeah, you're
We
only
already
going
made
up
it.
for 4
I
years.
know, but But currently that amount you gave would not be with, is that correct? Did it move with the 4%?
Yeah, it moved. You're now blue.
No,
You're put,
the $75.28, is that correct?
yes, that's correct. So 2025, the model showing you in the blue that you're putting away enough money.
Love that for us.
And then at that point, it's up to you guys to do what you want to do. But at that point, if you just gauge it towards inflation each year, you know, and hopefully we're
It'll
back
keep us in the
down.
blue. Right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, just think of it as doing a COLA for each year
Yeah.
and do another 5 years and keep it at that. You'll always be funding. I mean, I can't predict the future, but you know, the spreadsheet's trying to fit it in, you know, with as much parameters as it can. But I mean,
No. I
That's-
appreciate your insight. I'm not a real numbers guy.
But remember,
I'm not either.
Thank-
I ran the water system in Santa Maria, but I had to learn numbers to make sure I had enough money to make it each month. So
Perfect. That's
Gary, I want you to remember though, even though it's 75, whatever is our base rate, there's a consumption rate on top of that. It's just not going to raise. So you're
Right.
probably talking people having $100 water bill as opposed to a $90 water bill. So
yeah. I think
though-
that's well within our realm of value for what we're giving.
if you want historic, if you would have stayed at your old schedule, you would be around $80 this year, okay, as your base rate for a 3/4 inch meter. So you're making it there with slower little bits, you know, you're catching back up.
Right.
Well, that's good news. That means that John was pretty accurate.
Yeah,
On the
John was
last one?
conservative and had you put away more, probably a little more than you needed. And that way, you know, you'd be blue across this whole thing right now. So,
Oh,
but COVID kind of hit everybody.
yeah.
So, you know, everybody kind of, you're not the only ones. I mean, look at you can't turn people's water off and collect on them. I mean, I can't even imagine, because where I worked, if the bill was due today, 70% of the bills hadn't been paid. And it would take us 6 more weeks of asking people to pay the bill, inviting them. So
Oh, God.
I want to point out to the directors though, that this blue and, you know, being in the red or being in the blue, we're not talking about our annual cash flow. That's already solvent.
yep, you're yes all the way across the bottom.
We're only talking about what we're socking away for capital improvement, and it's a difference of $13,000. So we would sock away $13,000 less in year 5. I'm just playing devil's advocate because, yeah, it looks great to be in the blue, but what does the blue really mean? The blue just means that we have $13,000 more to, that we're saving, actually a little bit more than that.
To pay
because
for equipment, to pay for
Right, but
emergencies and
but
things
it's a
that we need to
different-
improve.
It's a difference of like $14,000. And at the same time, like giving people a break because they were doing this 10% raise. We're already pretty high enough that we probably don't want to go much, higher. And we're already solvent. So I know that, we're a little worried right now because of the inflation. And so the prices for things are more. So we might be a little bit worried about solvency, but that number is not what this is per se. This is when we're going into the blue, we're just talking about how much more we're putting away for capital improvement. So, and we're potentially going to be getting Lake of the Woods coming in here at someday. It may still be like 7 years away, but at that point, 5 to 7 years, we're still hoping that because more people are part of the system that, that we won't have as much trouble putting money away because there'll be more people paying into the system. So, and you know, whether that affects rates or not, I'm not sure, but that, you know, just, so I'm just playing devil's advocate because it looks like, oh, wow, we're in the blue, you know, but it's not. The blue we're talking about is capital improvement. It's not our cash flow, which at this point is positive.
Yes, you've done a good job, and Lisa's right. It's just how much you want to save, but you also have to look, like Lisa's saying, about your customer base. Will they be not blinking an eye at 3%, or will they be coming in there not liking it because they see
Well,
1,
they're
2,
not
3,
gonna
4,
like-
and
they're
then
not
they
gonna
think the
like
next
any-
year's 5. You
What
know,
I'm gonna say is they're not
Oh, I
gonna
don't know.
like
I just
any
thought I would-
increase, but
Ma'am.
Part-
Excuse me. Okay. I'm sorry, Brahma. Go ahead.
I you know, they're not gonna like any rate increase at all. But I think, you know, we do need to have the COLA. So, I mean, that's why I'm thinking that we should keep it at like 3%, because I don't think that, I think that, you know, people are gonna be upset. Whenever you raise the rates, they're gonna be upset, you know? I don't like to pay more either, but it's, I feel like we need to do it to continue to be able to improve on our system, and we need to do this, so, but
Yeah,
I think 4% is kind of more of a psychological, that's a little, you know, that's getting a little bit up there.
to me, it looks like if I'm coming at this straight out of the blue and I don't know nothing, and I see this on the board, I see you slowly ramping up to 5, 6, 7, 8. You know, where if you see 3 and 3, oh, they leveled off.
Right. We're not necessarily increasing every single year. Yes.
Yeah, you got to look at, you know, what your customers will do. And if we go to page 2, I can show you where you can make up that money.
Right. And that's why I kind
Beautiful.
of wanted David to talk about the rates a little bit, because one of the things that is sort of a, you know, we've had this standby fee for lots that are undeveloped that has been $5 a year for the last, I don't know, the 60s or something. And David is going to talk about that, but that's where I would, you know, that doesn't affect anyone who already has developed a lot. It only affects people that are holding, you know, who have potentially a little bit more money and invested in property in this town and are holding that property to someday build on it. So I think if we're going to bring in a little bit more, if we're worried about our cash flow, I'd rather it, you know, a little bit more money come from the undeveloped properties that right now, you know, are just being held and then eventually will be developed and are going to buy into the system, than the developed properties that are held by some severely disadvantaged community members who might not, you know, who even 3% might seem like a lot to.
You ready for me?
Sure.
Okay. The second thing Lisa and Brahma asked me to look at. Now, I'm not telling you to raise rates or do anything. All I'm trying to show you is the cost of these services. Okay. So we've already talked about, here's the basic, what you already do now, and the rate studies handling that part. Connection fees, I'd like to talk about last, because I did you guys sent me home with a lot of homework the last 2 days, guys. So we'll talk about this last. And again, what I'll say about this right now is this is not tied to a 218. You do not need to do a 218 for connection fees, because the state, or the state Supreme Court ruled that new connection fees are somebody's option. You're not imposing it on people. Okay. They can walk in, and it's like walking into a restaurant. I can walk in and spend $10 at McDonald's, or I can walk into the steakhouse and get a $70 steak. So connection fees are kind of the same way. If somebody comes in, they know right up front, you've told them what it's going to cost them. Okay. So it's not tied. It doesn't need a 218 hearing. And we'll talk about that last when we get to the last part. Anyways, first part, rate study. We've already talked about that. Now let's just dive into your fees because you guys have a lot. You have a 10% amount billed at the first of the month as a late charge on bills. I don't know why you'd want to change it. If anything, there you could talk about lowering it. That one doesn't really tie in because you're not doing anything except charging more. So staff time, there's not really a lot to do with that. So, but let's get into the ones where you actually use staff and materials and all that. Okay. Right now on your return check fee, you charge $35. And I calculated out benefits, employees, time, and materials. And it just comes out slightly above. I would $35, you're good. I wouldn't raise it. Ownership transfer fee, same thing. You're close enough. You're not losing much. 48-hour notice, same thing. You're not losing much. Owner tenant connection fee. I went in and checked everything. And at first I thought this was being charged too much, but I made a miscalculation and I corrected it. And again, you're charging pretty much what, if somebody comes in and wants to know why you charge that much, you can open the books up and show them. So, and the whole point of this is you can't charge over here for something that doesn't cost you the same amount or more here. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now let's get down to somewhere you're probably grossly underfeeing people. A reconnect for non-payment, you've got it down as $15. Unless they do the work really fast, it's costing you closer to double that. Okay, so you might want to think about raising that one. You don't have to raise it to the whole thing. You guys can decide what you want to do. Talking to Johnny and knowing how much it cost me to do service lines, you were charging them $1,000. The meter alone's $350, not counting the saddle, corporation stop, pipe, and valve, time and labor, backfill, asphalt, cement. We have like an averager that averages what it costs to put in services. And I took the middle range and added in your labor and everything, benefits, everything. And that one is pretty low. You might want to think about adjusting up. Go ahead. Okay, the next one, credit card fee, that's easy. That's just a straight up pass through. That's what you're passing on what the bank is charging you. Same with the 1%. You're just passing on what the bank charges you. Now something about the automated line, talking to the staff actually has to do a little time on that. You're not charging them for that. And it's about $3. Let's move down. Okay. Convenience fee to turn the water on during business hours. You guys charge $20. It's closer to it's $24. Same with turning it off. You're kind of undercharging a little bit. Your after hours, you're really undercharging. I mean, you're sending somebody out for minimum. You're paying somebody a minimum 3 hours at time and a half, and that's what it costs you to send somebody out to turn the water on after hours. 3-day lock activation fee. Again, I went in and checked this one, and it is pretty close to what you charge. So this one, I'm going to come back to this one because this one takes a little more explaining. You don't charge if it's an emergency for shut off, so there's no change there. your will serve, talking to Johnny and the rest of the staff, there is quite a bit of staff time. They actually have to physically go out, dig it up, and there's office time, and there's time brought before you to say yes or no on that thing. So you're charging about what it costs. You can back up that charge. You charge $200 for vandalism if they cut it off. Just know if they hurt that, if they break that or damage that curb stop valve, it costs quite a bit of money to replace, and time and labor and a shutdown costs quite a bit of money. So you're kind of undershooting that charge. You can easily back up something closer to this. And then we get down to what Lisa was talking about. This is probably, you're going to have to talk to your lawyers because it's tied to a parcel of property. You probably can't raise it during a 218 hearing. You're going to need to ask more about that. But my advice is, whatever $5 was worth back in 1960, adjust it for inflation to today's dollars. So I mean,
Oh,
inflation has
Right?
gone up
Absolutely.
3% every year. Basically, I think it's 2.9 or 3% is the average since then, taking in the highs and the lows. But you might have to put it out to a vote where you send it out to both property owners and people inside the district. You'll have to talk to a lawyer a little more about that one. But even if you did adjust it for inflation, it's still not going to be a $100 bill once a year. Okay. But you have a lot of parcels that are empty that it takes one of your staff members 2 weeks to go through and do all the work to put out that $5 fee. So the $5 fee does pay for that person to do it, but you're basically doing it. You're like spinning your wheels. So I think you need to look more into that fee, what it was meant for, what they wrote it for, and then at least adjust it for inflation. When I calculated it out roughly, I saw $60,000 or more a year you could be bringing in. So if you go back to our first sheet, $60,000 a year means a lot. That means at the end of 5 years, you probably can lower your adjusted rate each year on the water,
It's unfortunate that we have to go to a regular vote because Prop 218 is a negative vote, and to take it before the voters, it would have to be a positive vote, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would, but we're not sure that that's the case.
We don't know. Yeah, it's real. I spent 2 days reading. There's a lot of different opinions on this. Okay, because this is already written into law. So, I'd talk to your lawyer and see if you can just do it in the 218 and just adjust. We get a starting date and then we adjust it for inflation. It could.
And it's a little odd because it doesn't affect every property owner in Fraser Park. It only affects undeveloped property owners.
Yeah, but it's still a vote of the district.
Right,
So-
but I'm saying that could be.
So you get
very
everybody
odd
in the
if people
district
aren't-
to run out and vote yes because it doesn't affect them.
Right.
And basically also people need to keep in mind that these fees that we may be increasing here do not affect our ratepayers unless they're like non-paying.
Yeah.
And they're having their water shut off. So people who pay their bills and it won't affect them.
Yeah, in this business that I've learned to talk this language with people, it's called equity. Do you really want to pay for your neighbor to be a deadbeat? Because I used to in my business, I collected the bills. And somebody would start yelling and screaming at me, and I basically say, okay, I agree with you. Now let's go talk to the neighbor on each side of you and see if they agree with you. And then we'll make a decision on your adjustment. And you know what? Nobody ever took me up on it. So again, people that are causing these things, they know what it's going to cost them if they do it. You've posted it. So it's just encouragement, because everything they do here is taken away from time on your staff to go do their regular work. Okay. So it's costing you overtime when people have to do this during the workday. You know, you're possible. This 7-year abandonment fee, you set one fee, and granted, 90% of your system is 3/4 inch meters. So for those 90%, I calculated it out at $7.49. So you're good. But if one of your big customers turns off and wants to come back on, normally when you turn somebody's water off for 7 years or more, their valve ain't going to turn back on. And their meter is probably not going to work. And if it does, it's going to work really bad because it's been stuck. It's probably calcified in there. So just remember that your 1 inch, 2 inch, 1.5 customers, which is the majority of the rest of your customer base, if one of them does that 7-year abandonment and then somebody else moves in and they want to resurrect that thing, you're not even making, you're only once you get to 1.5 inches, you're not even charging what it costs you to replace the meter, much less the valve. So you might want to think about 7-year abandonment. And what I did was, let me bring in my other side. I calculated it down by size right here. I'm sorry if you guys want it bigger, let me get a little bigger. Okay. Okay. As you can see, yeah, for your 3/4, but once you start going to 1 inch, 2 inch, 1.5 inches and 2 inch, you're giving away service. You're giving away, the rest of your customers are subsidized. The 90% are subsidizing the 1, 2, and 3 percenters. That makes sense?
So I think we
Did
need
we
to,
go over this last time
I'm sorry?
during our last rate study and fee study?
No.
Did we go over this stuff?
no, we did
No,
not.
because you have to ask for this. A rate study by the state is just your rates. They don't consider this predictable, because unlike a rate study where I can look at the past, I can see what you charge, I can see everybody needs water. Not everybody needs to be shut off. So how much you make from this is going to be up and down, spiking by, how bad customers are or how many new customers you get. So we can't forecast how much you're going to make.
Right.
I
Well,
can
and it's
forecast.
David, I would say not that we're going to make. This is covering the
Yeah,
cost,
covering the
cost
cost.
of having to buy new meters and curb stops and fixing it if it's been shut off for 7 years. This is the cost for each size of meter
Yes.
and so if we kept it at $7.50, then we're going, if somebody had abandoned their meter, a 2-inch meter for 7 years, then when we go to turn it back on for them, it's going to cost us $2,216. And if we're only charging $7.50, we're basically not covering our cost for that.
Yeah, you're being unequitable to your customer base. Each
Right.
customer should pay their fair share of the bill.
Right.
So that's the argument. So
Becky, just quickly, the reason why we
Yeah.
asked David do this as well is the laws have changed since our last rate study. And so we just sort of guessed, and we did pretty well. Like, we're actually pretty close on most of this stuff, but we sort of did a guesstimate of what we thought, it cost us, but he did it a little bit more scientifically. And so this is, what it's really costing us. And that way we can justify it's really important now because the law changed. You need to justify, exactly pretty much what it costs to go out and post a notice, or what it costs to turn off a service, or what it costs to turn on a service. And that's including, and he's calculated in mileage, and so we had just sort of guesstimated it, but he's done it by calculating in all the things he was supposed to calculate.
Yeah, see, I've got you down.
I'm just trying to understand. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead, please. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You started. You're first.
I'm trying to understand, how do we break down this into a vote, and do we need to have a further meeting so that we can discuss the different fees?
That's up to you guys. All I'm doing is presenting your prices.
Well, my suggestion on these fees, or if you look at what he's presenting to us, is that the fees that, most of the fees are right on, but the ones that we are grossly under, like, for example, the reconnect for non-payment fee should be $30. So I think that we should go ahead and approve tonight the whatever the cost is. We should increase those fees where they need to be increased and leave the other ones the same as they are. For example, the owner tenant is $100. We'll leave it at $100. 48 hours, we'll leave it at 25. But when you go down, you have, like I said, the reconnect for non-payment fee. I think we should increase that to $30. I think,
and that was higher before. I don't know if the directors remember, but when the law changed, we didn't really understand all the things that you need to calculate in. So we sort of guesstimated, and our $15 we guesstimated was low. In some of these cases, we were right on, but in some of the cases we're low. And I don't really see any cases where we're really high. So that's why we asked David to do this a little bit, calculate it in a more, like I said, scientific. I don't know if there's another word for it, but where he's actually
he's calculating the actual cost for our labor, for equipment, for gas, for all the particulars that go into that particular service.
Yeah, which we had just sort of guessed.
And as far as where I got it from, I took your 2020 ending balance sheet, and on some things like vehicles, I broke it down, by the 4 main vehicles you drive. Not so much all the extra equipment, because it's mostly those 4 vehicles that are doing, and the Polarises are doing most of the work. As far as other things, I broke it down by the possible hours you have of total employees divided into all that, So I put the point of the state law is the preponderance of evidence is not on you guys. It's on your public to come back and say them to prove that you're charging too much for it. All you have to show is here's what we charge. So
this is what the cost is.
Yeah, this is what the cost is. And what you do on the cost is you don't do median, you do average. You take, if I ask Johnny, how much time does it take to do your worst job, when they go out to do a turn on, and how much of the time do you do it, the shortest one? And then we find not the middle, but like to one side or the other of the middle, usually the lower side. And that's where we've put in, hours to work. As far as for Johnny's side, it was easy. I did lots of hours, and I know how much it costs me to send guys out to work, or myself to go out to work to do that job. So on the office staff, Tiffany helped me and Johnny helped me on the field staff hours. As far as your actual salaries and stuff, I took this stuff is all broken down by the hour from what you list in what you spend each year for this stuff. And then at the top, I averaged your 2 employees in this field. I averaged your 4 employees in this field, including your manager, because you're small and your manager actually does a lot of this work too. And then I did an average for overtime hours. I took in your employer tax for those rates. I then went over and divided up your benefits through everybody, and I come up with the rates. And your bookkeeper's easy. She's $50 an hour. So it's not anything that's, not unusual. It just takes a little bit of time to number crunch everything in. So that makes sense.
Well, thank you.
Amazing.
So, and as far as what I've got what I need to put the rate study in, I don't need these decided until you want to publish your if you're going to 218 to do the rate study. We do have to have these firmed up by then, so it goes out with the literature. Okay. I don't need to hear that you want to do it or not tonight, but I can write this up better and then a little more summary, and you guys can talk about it at your next meeting and decide the actual amount you're comfortable with doing.
Sounds awesome.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Thank you, David.
Yeah.
And as far as this is going to be a lot more complicated, I can show you another way to write this, because we would write it as what it usually costs, labor plus time and materials. So it'd be time and materials. This and any additional time and materials, which would then cover this stuff. And you can always pull it out and tell the person, yeah, we think it's roughly going to be around this. But 4 years from now, while this is still in effect, meter prices are going up. Johnny's talking about prices. Meters are all, unless you start buying plastic meters, and even they are going up because plastic's a commodity. Meter costs a lot of money. So, and I did not put in the remote reading part. I just put in the meter cost with the modern registers that's ready for remote read. So if you may have to adjust this again in 2 years if you do change all your meters, because it'll be undergrossed by at least $150 to $300 if they go out. I can tell you they destroy the electronics quicker than they destroy meters. So that's just experience, that I've had. So, an abandonment fee.
Well, it's like
Go ahead.
the never-ending story, right? This keeps going on and going on.
Yes, but at least now I'll turn this part over to you guys. You can adjust the spreadsheet however you want. All right, ready for the last section?
Yes.
Okay. I don't want to put everybody to sleep. I've been talking a while now. All right. Like I said before, these fees are 218. These fees are not. If you want the legal precedent, I will send that in my next email to you guys, and I'll show you what your lawyer can cite as legal precedents for not putting this in the 218. You can just do this any night, as long as, again, you can't charge for more than you can reasonably put it in for, okay? And you called a connection fee, but I think you need to reword that a little bit, because it's both a capacity fee and a connection fee. And the difference there is, one, you guys put in the services for these people. So
Right,
you have
this
to,
is for people to buy into the system when they're building on a property, on a new property.
yep. And so it has two parts. You're buying in, so some way you got to equitably divide up what the system is. And then you also have to account for the price of putting in the meter, the angle stop, and the service line and all that. That part's pretty easy to calculate. The other part is a lot more complicated. And I think you guys really should look at changing this because I'm going to slide my spreadsheet over. But remember, see how these numbers go up? Okay. And there's a logic to the reason these numbers go up this way. And what that is they take what they actually take what a 5/8 meter is, which would be up here, and they make that the baseline. And every time a meter gets bigger, how much more water does it do than a 5/8 meter? And so they give it like an increasing factor. So that's how they come up with this is this much bigger than this, because this person can run this much more water through it. So it'd be like, I think a 1 inch meter is 1.5 times, a 3/4 inch meter is 1.5 times a 5/8 meter, and it goes on up from there. So that's how you get the staircase kind of steps up. If you look over here, do you see that same thing? You don't really, and you're flatline kind of in here. So I don't know if these numbers are good. It depends on which formula you use. I'll show you what I found, or I just played with a little bit. And I'm only doing a layman's because this study is as much involved as doing a rate study. So I'm going to slide my screen over a bit. Okay, let's get this to the middle. Okay. And what I've got here is you have what's called positive displacement meters, and I'm assuming your bigger meters are turbines. You don't actually have any 3s and 4s. I'm assuming the 6s are turbines. Johnny, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's correct.
But what I've done is these are the flow rates on the nominally high, which is not the absolute high, a meter can run through it. And these are your meter sizes. 3/4 is a 0.75, and that's where you guys start. And you have basically 1,549 of them out there. You have 22 1 inch, you have a 1.5 inch, you have 10 2 inch, and you have 2 6 inches. And the 6 inches.
David, where did that 1549 come from? Because we don't have anywhere near that for 3/4 inch.
That comes out of your reader database.
Yeah, there's something wrong there. I mean, maybe possibly buried ones. We have about 1,400, but I don't believe that we have that many missing meters. But we could address that later.
Yeah, we can address that. And it doesn't, that's what I mean. This is going to take work, because to do this, we have to have a good asset list, and we have to have a good numbers for capacity. So it'd take work. The point is, if you look at the scale over here, we call it the equivalency scale. If a 5/8 by 3/4 or 5/8 meter is 3/4 inch meter is 1.5. So if you charged $1, it's $1.50, $2.50. Okay. So as you can see, when you get down to a 6, it's 65 times bigger a charge than you would charge for a 5/8 meter. So, and if you look over on we went back to that other money, and you start at 8,000, you end at 14,000. You can see where these bigger meters are grossly underrepresented. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then,
So this isn't something that we're gonna do tonight. So I think we
No.
need to. I think
In
we
fact,
need to move.
most people have an engineering firm. They would turn it over to an engineering or a firm that would do this kind of calculation, because you actually have to do quite a bit. But what I'm saying is, you're underestimating. Let's just take the 1 inch. If you were charging $8,000, then you should be charging 2.5 times $8,000 for a 1 inch,
Right,
which is
right.
not what you're doing. So
That's true. And something also to point out is although we do have to raise these, we've had so few, even 3/4 inch over the last 13 years that it's unbelievable. We've had maybe 8 or 9. We've had 1 6-inch, and that was for the library in 13 years. So most of this would bring in money if we start developing bigger. But at this point, it's not going to bring us any money because nobody's building.
Right.
yeah, but you could set it up for the future. And
Yeah.
this takes, I did it down and dirty, and I took from your end of the year assets. And now how they calculate this is 4 different ways. So you guys would have to pick which formula you wanted to follow. But I took the simplest one, which is just the gross assets. And I divided it by the 1331 active accounts. Okay. If you have a better number closer up higher than that, then we would divide it by that. But it's basically telling you that the base share is around 6,706. The problem with this is some of the assets we have listed in the fixed assets are not eligible to be used in the formula. They take your wells, your tanks, your transmission systems, and everything to do with that, but they don't count regular distribution system piping. So this would have to be adjusted. So anyways, just doing that, it shows that their share is $6,000 plus you have a service cost. So your 8,000, if you do it the simple way, comes out, you're close. You're a little under, but as you can see, you're grossly under if somebody wants a 1 inch or an 1.5 inches or a 2 inch. So the rest of your customers are shouldering the burden for these people. That back to equity.
Okay, I think we need to get back to the rate study, and if we're going to approve that. Because this isn't something that we're going to be able to work on tonight. So, and we're already spent a lot of time.
Yep, I agree.
Are you ready to make a motion?
Here's where I put it back to is that you guys want that or the other. That's your motion.
I'm recommending that the motion come from other than the ad hoc. The motion and the seconder.
I'll move that we accept the plan as presented by David and maintain the last year at the 3% level.
I'll second that.
And that we go forward
Okay.
with the 218, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Our next thing to meet about is
Hold
We
on,
need to-
hold on.
We need to vote. We need to vote on that motion.
okay.
Yeah,
Do a roll call. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Nyman,
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Schoenberg,
aye.
and Director Gibson. It's an aye, so it's 5-0-0.
Okay.
And now,
folks.
do we need to do anything else with this number 9?
Not tonight. I will send to your office what I found for your fees and stuff. And you guys can decide on that. You just have to have a decision before you publish it for the 218 hearing so that they have the numbers.
So we need to put this on maybe the next meeting and go over the fees the next meeting. And,
Yeah.
and approve and make the changes and approve it and get it back to David.
next meeting in January or February?
Next regular meeting.
Huh?
The sooner the better, guys.
The sooner the
Okay.
better, so we should do it at the next, the next.
Okay, got
planning-
it.
The
Okay.
next planning meeting.
And I promise you, it'll be a lot shorter.
Thank you for your time,
Okay.
David. It was very,
All right.
Yeah,
very
thank you,
helpful
David,
understanding.
very much. Okay, moving on to number 6, the manager's report. A, discussion vote on an application for water service.
Trying to unmute myself. I just have a verbal manager's report because I haven't been in the office, but luckily during my COVID, Tiffany held down the fort at the office really well, as usual. The 2 guys in the field really busted their butts, kept everything moving. We've had a rash of busted or failing curb stops, not busted, but failing curb stops. So they've been working steady and trying to get work orders knocked out. And they've done a really good job. So I just want to let you guys know we got a good, albeit small, but a good crew right now.
Well, good.
Must
Now,
be.
what about this application for water service, Johnny?
Okay, this guy, he's one of the guys that has built a lot of houses in town. So he knows, but what he's asking for is kind of a letter similar to what we gave to the Sigmund Lichter debacle for the guy that wanted to build a house there at Sigmund Lichter's. He wants something that basically says that he could build on a lot that, assuming that all of our criteria is met, the new well, everything that you guys put in the letter before, he's requesting that we do that for him, just so he knows that he could build on that lot. I would recommend we do it. I believe we can provide water right now, even without the new well. So if we put those stipulations in, it'll cover us and protect us.
Well, I don't see anything on here about him building or him wanting to, like,
Oh,
is that somewhere else?
Well, no, that's what they do with the will serve letter. They're just asking to see if we could provide water. It doesn't really matter if
Oh,
they build or
okay.
not.
But what is he planning to put on that lot if he were to put something on that lot?
Single
Is it a-
family dwelling right on the corner of, I think it's
So
Fresno
it is a
and,
1 inch?
Los
What
Padres.
is it a 1 inch?
That always has to wait until the final pressure test. Now with the new water or the new fire sprinkler mandate, sometimes some parts of our area they get enough flow out of 3/4. Sometimes they have to upgrade to a 1 inch. It depends on what the flow tests show.
Okay,
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to move that we accept the application for water service installation and provide our contingent will serve letter for is it well for 1755 no, I'm sorry, for lot 18 block 10 tract
2.
2 at 729 San Gabriel Trail, Fraser Park.
I'll second that.
Okay, now roll call of directors. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Kelly,
Aye.
Director Nyman,
Aye.
Director Schoenberg,
Aye.
and I'm Director Gibson, and it's aye, so it's 5-0-0 approved. Now, can we move on to the administrative assistance report?
Well, was there anything else on the manager's report? Do we have?
No, nothing else in the manager's report.
Okay, Tiffany, do you have anything?
Possibly. One thing will be under the agenda item. Johnny, did you want me or you to update on going back to the lockoff?
Oh yeah, if you could update, that would be great. Thank you, Tiffany.
Okay, I did email and double checked with the attorney. So the moratorium on water shutoffs ended December 31st. So unless somebody received money from the COVID relief program, they became eligible as of that date for water service shutoff. So on January 3rd, we hung our red tag notices, the ones with the $25 notice posting fee. And then Tuesday, the 11th, the guys went out to roughly 13 residences and did the lock-offs for them. A lot of them came back and turned it back on again. So that was it for that.
Turned the
Okay.
water back on themselves or came in and paid the fees?
No, they paid the fees.
Oh, thank you.
And so the ones that receive money for this, what's it called, Tiffany?
The COVID relief.
The COVID relief. So we have to wait 30 days for them to make a payment plan, or what is it that we need to do?
I'm going to talk a lot
Oh.
about that during the agenda.
Okay, we can move on.
But
I'm sorry.
they are put off until February 1st.
Okay, all
Then they
right,
will become eligible.
okay.
Okay, so are we ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay, number 7, ad hoc committee reports, project committee?
Okay, so we, do you want to address that, Jay?
A little bit. I was contacted by Director Schoenberg during the week regarding sort of transfer of the members of the different ad hocs, and in particular the committee ad hoc. So her suggestion was that I should get the minutes for the ad hoc project committee and go over them for the last year. And I've already contacted Tiffany about running those for me. I'll try to get them beginning of this week so that I can be up to speed come Thursday for my first ad hoc state meeting. Did you want to add anything, Lisa?
Yeah, in addition to that, all of the directors should have received a letter that we sent out and asked you not to respond to, which was penned by our engineer, and it went out to Lawrence Sanchez and was CC'd to some people. But that was basically addressing the need for funding for the well to go forward on the Saya property. It talked about the that we're not quite ready to do that yet, but that if we don't start considering funding for that project, which is currently part of the Lake of the Woods Fraser Park consolidation, but if we don't start considering some sort of funding for digging that well before the consolidation, that we're going to be so far, that we may have some trouble. So we may potentially need that well for blending. Anyway, you all got to read the letter. A member of the public on here right now.
Yeah, and there's a copy in our packet.
Right. So so basically that's what the project committee did since we switched members. And then we'll be on the state meeting as Jerry was talking about next week.
Okay. Accounts payable committee?
Yes, me and,
I think
go ahead if you would like, Director Kelly.
is accounts payable.
That's us. Me
Okay, that's
and
the billing?
me and Director Kelly met with the bookkeeper and went over our bills and over the accounts to make sure that we were putting things to the proper accounts, and we'll be covering that on our paying our bills tonight.
Okay, very good. The budget committee, we don't have anything, right? Are we ready to start?
We are not.
Director Schoenberg?
We're not ready to start that yet. There's a number of other issues that need to be addressed first. So I don't think we're probably going to be starting that until maybe February or March. That needs to be completed by June probably.
Okay,
July.
well, that sounds good. Okay, how about the book asset detail committee?
So that's still Director Nyman and myself. We have not, I did have some discussion with our bookkeeper about that, but we haven't met again to move on. But that's definitely, that all of those things need to be addressed fairly rapidly. So that committee will need to meet and
And,
continue on the assets and go over any assets that did not get, we need to just look to see that everything was categorized correctly.
that has its own agenda item, the
Yeah,
book asset detail.
it has an agenda item. Oh, yes.
Okay. And then finally, the accounts receivable committee, and that's where we go over we make sure that the amounts on the invoices and the checks match, right?
Yeah,
But I
that's
haven't started that.
you and Director Kelly.
So should we do that at the middle of the month or at the end of the month, or should we do it 2 times a month?
Well, one of the things that we need to do, and it's later in the agenda, and I think we should address all that stuff later in the agenda on the line that pertains to it, but we need to break down very meticulously and detailed all of the duties and kind of what's happening on each ad hoc committee so that we're not accidentally having serial meetings, because some of these committees sort of cross over a little bit and they can't do that. So we may need, we need to break that out, but that's an agenda item later on.
Okay. Sounds good. So now, financial business. Hey, Deborah, have you fallen asleep yet?
No, it's all very interesting to me. I'm overwhelmed, but not asleep.
Okay, discussion vote on accounts payable and financial information. You have the floor, Deborah.
Okay, so accounts payable, we issued a total of 3 checks out of the Lake of the Woods planning account for a total of $2,693.50. Did anybody have any questions about anything specifically in that area? Okay. And then out of our revenue operating account, where's that page? There it is. We issued 35 checks for a total of $47,592.13. Looking at anything 3,000 and above, there was our monthly premium for medical, dental, and vision. Total amount $10,812.73. And what's this? I think my pages are out of order. Just a moment. 10-3. Okay. And then there was a payment to Ferguson Enterprises for $3,929.67. Various supplies for distribution. Okay. And our Southern California Edison bill, $6,216.33. State Water Resource, it was an annual fee of $3,636.04.
They love giving us those fees.
Well, it's annual, not monthly. And then the last, I think the last. There was a check to Young Woolridge for $3,023. So are there any questions about the accounts payable?
So,
No, I don't have any questions.
so I'd like to make a motion that we pay our bills.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call of directors. Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman,
Aye.
Director Schoenberg,
Aye.
Director Gibson, aye, and that is 500. So now we will go on to discussion vote on the,
Before we do
Wait.
that, I wanted to ask Deborah, when you provide the reconciliation summary, we need to have the actual statements from the bank attached to this too in the future.
In the past, Director Nyman, those were not going to all the directors. They had voted not to receive those. I had said that I wanted that as treasurer. So she will probably be giving those to you unless the directors have changed their
Right, but
mind.
what I'm saying is that I need the actual copies of the statements from the bank.
Correct. But I'm saying they don't go out in the packet to everyone.
Right, okay.
Okay, so you need a copy of the bank statement or the original bank statement?
Well, a copy, I mean, you print it out from the bank because we don't get I don't think we get mailed statements anymore. So
Yeah, I turned off the mailed statements. when I
right,
was-
so they need to be printed out and put with each one of the reconciliations, if you would, please.
Okay,
But
I will.
are you going to do that just for, do the directors want those in every packet? Or do we only want that for the treasurer and for basically the financial? I mean, I think I would like that, but that's because I've been doing the treasury for a while before it switched over, but I don't know if all the directors want that.
Because I also had one question, and I guess this would maybe directed at you, Director Schoenberg. Because we got our balance sheet for December 31st. And my question is, the capital improvement reserve, is that correct? We currently have 753,000 in that. Is that correct?
I thought it was less than that, so I need to look, but I did replace some money because we did move some money back in that we had taken out we had used that to cover some funds that were replaced. So I think it probably, yes, I think it's correct. It's just it
Okay.
was down to 500 something, and then I moved money back in when we received payment for what was it? One of the projects. So we had covered quite a bit of money on the
On the well.
drilling. Yeah, on the well,
Yes. Okay,
Uh-huh.
all right.
on the test wells.
So that's been returned then. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I have to go on the bank and check this, but I just was curious because I remember some other discussions, so. Okay, that's all.
So-
I
There
have.
are two
So-
items on financials.
What's that?
I said I have two items that I wanted to go over on financials, but Deborah can go first if she needs something.
Oh, I just wanted to be clear, how many copies of the bank statement will I be
Yeah,
producing?
I don't need one. This is Director Garcia. I don't need one.
you know what? I think I'd just be overwhelmed if I got one.
No, I
So
think
I don't need one either.
you need three. You need three.
3, okay.
One for Director Kelling, with the reconciliation summary, one for me and one for Director Schoenberg.
Okay,
Okay, do we got that? So now can we discussion vote on the book asset detail?
Oh, I had a couple things on the financials.
Okay,
Sorry. Deborah, this is for you. I did spend a decent chunk of time this afternoon on the phone with AT&T. Brahma,
Mhm.
Brahma had a question about the charges on our UVerse.
Oh, that's correct.
So I asked them why basically our UVerse bill doubled for the last couple months. So I asked them what that was for. And they said, well, you have this technology package, so we have remote access. We can do remote access on your computer and do virus scans. And if you have any issues with software, we can fix that for you. And we also are offering you AT&T cloud backup. And that's why you're paying the 50 something extra dollars. And I said, we didn't ask for that. That's not something we want. That's not something we need. And it took a while, but they're gonna take that program off of there. But they said it would take 1 to 2 billing cycles before we see that removed. And
And
then
then they'll
they'll credit
reimburse us.
anything. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tiffany.
no problem.
Okay.
They just add something and I'm just, yeah, I forgot to report on that because we were looking over the bills and I found that there was an extra charge of $45 that they, for the last few months that they've been charging us. And I didn't know why that was on there. So thank you for Tiffany and Deborah for taking care of that.
thank you,
Sure.
Tiffany.
You're welcome. And then my second question was, so before the change of bookkeepers, I would put the balance sheet on our website under the financials. And now that Deborah has produced a balance sheet, I was wondering if you want me to resume doing that or wait a little bit still?
I would resume
Okay.
unless the other directors think that that's a problem. I am going to still go over, we had talked, one of the things that was talked about was to have Zoom installed, and I don't know if we okayed that or not, but to have Zoom installed on Deborah's computer so that if a director needed to look over something with her in regard to financials, that could be done remotely. And also, we're supposed to go over the P&Ls that have happened that we haven't gone over, but I think that Deborah's been doing a lot of work to catch up, and I think her numbers should be fine.
okay.
But I mean, that needs to not come from me. That needs to come from all the directors. So I guess we could just sort of.
I think that's fine.
So you want to make a motion to have Zoom put on her computer?
We
I think Tiffany and I talked about that, and with the computer, I don't have to have Zoom installed on the computer. If one of you can initiate a Zoom meeting and invite me to it.
Well, it does install it when you, you're using, it's on the computer when someone does that. So, but I don't think that's the issue. I think what the issue at hand, the bigger issue at hand is what we're just talking about, which is, do we put the balance sheet back up on the website?
I don't think we need a motion for that. I think if the directors are okay with that, I'm okay with that. That she's got it. We should continue to do what we always did for transparency. I think that's a good thing.
I agree.
Yep.
I agree too. Yeah.
Okay, and then
Now that
Okay.
he's got a balance sheet that's balancing.
and then I wanted to bring up a couple of things before we got off the financials. So just
Okay,
sure, just for the other directors, understanding of what's going on, because we can only do this at a meeting, a full board meeting. Otherwise, it's a serial meeting. So we did get a notice. I'm not sure where we're at on that in regard to owing tax for 2016, the federal unemployment tax. And I believe Deborah was looking into that today. It should have been handled by ADP. And I'm not sure where we're at on that, but I just wanted to give all the directors a head up that we did receive that notice, and it was a last notice, and I don't recall that we ever got any previous notices, and it is for the tax year 2016. And then I also wanted to just make a note that what was the other thing? Sorry, I'm hearing some. Sorry, it just went away. What was the other thing? Oh, I know what it is. Sorry. Distractive noise here. The other thing was that we need to send information out to the auditors, and I discussed some of that, and that's going to come up on a further agenda item with who will be dealing with the audit, whether it's going to be the accounts payable or some other ad hoc. But for now, I discussed that with our bookkeeper, and she has, I believe, been in touch, and she can tell us what she's done on that. But she had talked to our auditors, and we're going to be setting a backup of, we're a bit late on this. We're a bit behind, switched bookkeepers, but we're going to send a backup of our QuickBooks to our auditors. And I was under the understanding, and this is for Tiffany, that we were monthly. That was what I was told by 2 bookkeepers ago, that monthly we were sending in a packet, a board packet, always to the accountants. The accountant, as far as I know, said no, that's not the case, but that was always my understanding. So I'm a little confused if we just never sent those, or if that changed at some point, and why. But that's also like to figure out if that's something we're needing. Our current accountant said he didn't need that, but I'm just a little confused.
You want me to answer what I know?
Sure.
Okay, to my knowledge, we've never sent anything monthly to the accountant. It was just at the end of the year, or when he's doing his yearly audit, that we would go back and get a year's worth of whatever he's requesting and send it all at once. But we've never, to my knowledge, done it on a monthly basis.
Okay, so that was something that I been told by a couple of bookkeepers ago. So that just was incorrect information. Okay.
And he sent me another email today just before I was leaving, and it is an itemized list of over 20 items, including the backup that he needs for the audit. So it's something that, and some of those items will need to go over with the general manager because they'll need to come from him. I don't know who else needs to look at that to go through that list.
Typically what we do is usually they send it to me or sometimes Tiffany, but then I go through the stuff I provide. Tiffany provides her stuff. I give it to the front desk and they provide theirs, and so on and so forth until we all have contributed our parts.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. And then if I
Anything else, Director Schoenberg?
I think Deborah was still answering something, or still.
No, I was just
I'm
saying,
sorry.
if there's anything that's on my list that I'm not clear on, I would just ask Scott directly
Absolutely.
what,
Absolutely,
specifically what he needs and what format. So,
Yeah, I think you'll find you'll like working with Scott and that firm. They're very easy to work with, and they always do a good job for us.
okay. And as far as that notice from the payroll tax, I'm going to try Monday. to do that online. I just have to upload that notice to them because I tried to call them today to follow up on it, and it was at a time when I needed to leave, and it was a 2-hour and 25-minute wait. So I will follow up on that again on Monday.
Okay,
Great.
perfect.
Wow.
You know, and I just also wanted to note that the 1099s, all the directors should have gotten a draft of that for approval to make sure that, you know, there's nothing odd about it or, you know, something incorrect. And then I know that Deborah is working on sending those out to all of our various people that need the 1099. So that should be out in a timely
It-
manner.
I would say we would, people should let her know by Monday if there's any corrections to the 1099s. So Deborah can finalize those. In other words, if the copy is correct with you, then that's the copy you use for your taxes. Yeah, and so if you don't let her know by Monday, then the 1099s will be submitted.
So it would be helpful if I get an email from each one of you letting me know that, yes, it's okay. And obviously, if there are some changes, what the changes are. That way I have it all in writing. And as soon as I get approval on everything, then I can file the government copies, which are due by the end of February.
Well, what are we looking for, Deborah?
Well, on the form, you want to make sure that your name is correct, that the correct tax ID number was used, and your address is current, because they match that form to your tax return. So if you're going to be changing anything when you file your tax return, you want to make sure that that 1099 and the tax return are can't think of the word, but they're the same.
Okay.
And also,
And of course, you want to make sure that the figure matches whatever record you might have on the amounts.
and all
Okay.
of those are on a miscellaneous form, which is what they should be on, you know, so just double check that yours is that, and it should be the line 3, which is other income. So that was the mistake that we had last year. It was on the wrong form. One of the things.
Okay.
Sorry, Becky, real quick. David
Yeah.
Hostley is asking if he could have a couple minutes because he corrected his spreadsheet and he wanted to show it to you.
Okay. So that's great, right? So how do we do it?
I'd like to move that we revisit. So are we done with the financials?
Do we need to do anything with the book asset detail?
No,
Well, we're not there yet. We're on number 9.
Okay.
Anything else on number 9? Because if not, I'm going to move that we return to I'm sorry, we're on
9.
number 8. I'm going to move that we return to item number 9, which was earlier in the agenda.
A second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Director Garcia?
Aye.
Director Kelling?
Aye.
Director Nyman?
aye.
Director Schellenberg?
Aye.
Gibson, aye. 500. And so now back to discussing the rate study. You have the floor.
folks. But I wanted to make sure it's right and that you vote on the right. The outcome is exactly the same. It's an $8 change from what you started with last year till what you'll end up with. It just shows it is a little bit higher percents. Let me share my screen. Okay. Again, you start, as you pointed out earlier, I've went in and found the bug that was keeping it wrong. So it starts out at 66, it ends at 74, so it's $8 and 11 or 12 bucks for the 1 inch, which is the majority of your system. It changes the percent though from to 2, 2.5, 3.5, 3.5, and that ends up with the same outcome. You end up around 13,000.
But that's
Is that-
not what we vote. That's not what we voted on.
Yeah, that's why I had to ask again. I want you to, the outcome's the same. The percents show a little bit higher across, but it shows the same outcome. So do you want to accept this or no?
Well, we would need to, we've already voted on the other percentages, so we would need to, the motion maker and the seconder would need to accept this and, you know, take back the motion based on new information and put forth a new motion if that's what we want. What do you have the numbers if it was what we voted on?
If you do it back then, this number will be closer to 50,000 in less funding towards this number. So it's about a $40,000 change. I can show it to you if you want it. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, it takes this thing a minute. I apologize, but I'm happy you guys caught the mistake.
And David, when you present this, are you able to remove 2021 so that it doesn't confuse, or, well, I guess you don't have to, but it may be a little confusing on the bottom where you have the year one, because the year one isn't actually, I mean, I guess you're just reiterating that because we made no changes and it's showing what we're starting with. Yeah, it's okay. Never mind. I just convinced myself it's fine. I'm just thinking for the 218 when we introduce it to the public.
In order to do that, Lisa, I'd actually have to get everything you talked about earlier, that latest statement from last year. And
She
change
said,
the
don't
whole
worry
year."
about it. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I convinced myself it shouldn't be a problem. You can explain that we, you know.
You're just showing people that in 21, you're not going to do anything, or you did nothing,
Right.
is basically. All right. It should update the numbers in a minute. And I'm sorry, folks. It's been a long day. Come on, computer, do your job. No, I didn't put in 300%. That would be doing really good. Come on, computer. I'm sorry to keep you guys.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's just, it's not updating. Oh, there we
Okay,
go.
so there it is. There's where you go. And you would finish your rate at $72.74 instead of $74. So it's still good. I mean, you're funding like 80%. So
I would like to leave it as the same like it is.
okay.
That's my opinion. That, I mean, it's up to the other directors what they
But
want.
I just wanted to show you guys because I didn't want, you know, I want to be upfront with everything here.
It would be
we'll
up to
just-
the
I think if
motion,
we,
it would be up to the motion maker and the seconder to revoke their motion or to rescind their motion is the correct, I believe, based on new
Wasn't that
information.
Garcia?
If,
Yep.
if if you want to change it. If you don't want to change it, then you don't need to do anything.
Can I make a comment on this just real quick?
Sure.
I know that the hope is that cost of parts is going to go down. The hope is all these other things, but we're discovering a high rate of failure in our system because of the age of everything. Like right now it's the curb stops, but those things are like $90 a piece. And the more they fail, the faster they fail, the more it's going to cost. So if we shoot too low,
That's
we're
not
gonna
what
find-
that's not what
no,
we're voting on.
it's the CIP, right?
Yes, but that's
Okay.
not.
So all I'm saying is that if we don't have enough money in the CIP, we found out with the $200,000 booster house that we thought was going to be 200,000, it was 400,000. So I'm just pointing out that if we went a little bit higher, we would probably be better off in the event of an emergency than we will be if we go lower. But that's
But
just my 2
it's a
cents.
difference of $50,000. So, and that's anyway.
All right.
Not up to me. It's up to the motion.
Okay, let me ask a question here. So that negative $50,600 is what we're gonna have to pay to break to,
No, you don't pay. It just means that
no,
you're
that's
not.
what I'm afraid of, that you don't understand it. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
that's not
it
what
just
is.
means the spreadsheet, the magical spreadsheet is saying you need to put away basically $410,000 around there. And you're going to fund it, with 358,000 right now. So it's how much you want to save.
It's a savings
fine.
account. So for
Yeah.
our capital improvement. So basically it would be the percentage we're socking away to pay for emergencies. This is if we don't have loan or grant money, we need to have some money in there. This is saying that, originally it was saying we were going to sock away almost $2 million. This is saying 1,746 instead of 1 million.
Right. So we're putting away $50,000 less.
Yes.
And I understood all that. I'm just saying that I'm anticipating the emergencies as opposed to not. So, but it's still, I mean, if we had to, we could do something later on, but I am anticipating those failures.
yeah, and I think the rest of us should as well, based on our experience thus far with our system.
I mean, I just know that all the experts that have looked at our system are all amazed that we're still continuing
Pumping
as
water.
we are. And so it concerns me if we don't have enough but we could always apply for emergency funding from somebody else if we spend all our money too. So
And
that might even be a better way.
I want to remind you that I want to remind all of you directors that our capital improvement, the amount that we had was why we did not get any help from the USDA. So while it's really important to have an emergency fund, it also, if it looks like we just have money in the bank, we don't get the help that we need. So we need to weigh it against what we're really needing to spend or what we really should spend against, it's based on a couple of things. So it's based on our affordability, and our affordability is already, in a good place. As David was saying, we don't want to be too low because then they're saying we're not charging our ratepayers enough. We don't want to be too high because then we're charging our ratepayers too much. And if we sock away a good amount of money that we're not using depending on how we use it, it can actually hurt us when we go out for grants. They
Okay,
want to get a loan and no grant.
That's true.
so then let's just go ahead and keep with a motion that I made with a 3% the last 2 years. And
I'm in
Okay,
agreement.
so
with
you don't
that.
want to change it.
no,
I'm in agreement with that.
Okay,
okay.
Is every other director
David,
in
thank you very
agreement?
much for correcting
you.
that and giving us a realistic view on it. I really appreciate your presentation, and I think you're going to be good for us.
Okay.
Thank you, David.
You're
thank you
welcome.
for your diligence.
Okay. You guys have a good night.
Okay.
Thank
care.
you.
That's our plan. Okay, now we're moving on to unfinished business. Do we need to note the time?
No, we were actually on number 10, but I'm going to move that we table number 10 until we're able to look at that a little bit more clearly we need to address further on in the agenda, the ad hoc composition and who's responsible.
I
for
second that. I second that motion.
Okay, Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman,
Aye.
Director Schellenberg,
Aye.
Gibson, aye, so that's 500. Moving on to unfinished business, do we need to note the time?
Yes.
It is 8 o'clock on the dot. Discussion vote on Fraser Park, Lake of the Woods Consolidation Planning Project.
Excuse me,
Yes?
do I need to
Yes.
stay in the meeting?
No, I don't think you do.
No, you can go, Deborah.
No, bye,
Thank you.
Deborah.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you.
Okay. We're back to A, discussion vote on test well property appraisals and acquisition. Is there anything on that?
That's D.
Yeah, I just want to update you. It should be, one qualifier, I've been out of the office all week simply because of exposure to somebody that had COVID. So I've been trying to work from home, which has been a bit difficult, as you guys all know. So that's no big news. But so I haven't, I guess what I wanted to say was I haven't talked with Valbridge this week, but they are scheduled to do the appraisal sometime in January. So that's what the schedule is right now. And then I'll check with them tomorrow.
Okay, and so they're ready to do it as soon as they have free time in January? We don't have to do anything paperwork, or you don't have to do anything to give to them?
But it's all been done. We're just
Perfect.
waiting for them to get the time to come up and do them.
Okay, thank you, Dee. So B, discussion, review, vote on letter to the state describing the district's funding need for well 8. And there's a copy of the letter in your packet. It's the one to Lawrence Sanchez, Lisa mentioned earlier.
However, it's already gone
Right?
out. Yes, it's already gone out. So I'm not sure, other than, I'm not sure how much we can discuss it, but I'm not sure whether we need what the vote would be because we've already sent that letter.
Okay, so we're good, right? I mean, didn't we discuss it at another meeting?
We discussed it. Yeah, we discussed the need for it. We didn't all review the letter, but the ad hoc reviewed the letter, and in order to be a little bit more timely, the ad hoc went ahead and okayed the letter, and then it went out. So I don't know if anyone had an issue or anything, or something we need to revise, or something we need to bring up at the state meeting. That would be probably what we would want to discuss right now. But as far as voting on the letter going out, that already happened.
Okay, the letter looks fine to me. How about the other directors? Does anybody have anything to say? I guess not, right?
Looks good.
Okay, discussion
So-
vote on moving forward.
Let me just say, so Director Garcia and I at the project state ad hoc meeting, we will talk to, Lawrence will have already received this, and we can bring it up and just see what his take is on it.
Okay, sounds good. Discussion vote on moving forward with the resolution for the intention to purchase the test well property or easement.
I think we need to table that because we can't move forward until we have appraisals.
Okay. So
that
number D, discussion. Yeah.
Correct?
That's, okay, so we table it for the next meeting, right?
Yes.
The next meeting in February?
The next
No.
meeting in January, to
Okay.
see if we got any appraisals, but I'm not sure if we'll have them or not by then.
Okay, but
may-
we can just talk
maybe-
about it, right?
Right, it should
Yeah.
stay on the agenda, but I'm not sure. We can't really discuss a resolution and to an intent to purchase until we have an idea of what we're talking about price wise.
Okay, sounds good. Discussion vote on district sphere of influence map for the annexation.
I think the same thing, if you move forward on that at all, D, I don't think so. I think we've been a little overwhelmed with everything else. I think that that was supposed to be, I know D and Johnny and I were supposed to meet to, and I don't know if Director Garcia is going to want to be a part of that, but we're supposed to meet to look at that map and just make sure that we're putting everything in that needs to be in, or pulling anything out that needs to be out, but we have not had a chance to do that yet.
Okay, so since we're not ready for the sphere of influence, we're probably not ready for E yet either, right? On
Correct.
project municipal services review, so we need to just table that for the next meeting?
Well, D, has anything moved forward on that? No, we're still just tabling that for now, correct?
Right, that's correct.
Okay, and F, discussion vote on the new budget request?
I don't think we don't, well, we have, our budget request is that letter, right? So that's,
Oh, okay.
but I mean, that would potentially come up on a budget request, but I don't even know if that's something that Lawrence is going to be willing to do. So I think that has to wait as well.
Okay. Okay, so we're, G, discussion vote update on claims and payouts. Are there any claims and payouts?
That's Carlos.
Huh?
Carlos, Oscar, or Carlos?
Yeah, claim 12 is still under review by the state. They needed some documents, and I gave Eric some documents, and Dee sent over some documents. So I sent him a message earlier in the week if he had everything he needed. He hasn't responded yet, so I'll send him another message reminding him if he's got everything he needs, or if not, then we need to get some stuff out to him so he can finish up with claim 12 and approve it.
Carlos,
Okay.
you saw that I sent him the CS and Associates contract. I think I CC'd you on that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was like on January 10th or something like that.
Mhm, correct.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Moving
And,
on to number 12.
Quick question on that before we move on. And do we have any bills that need to be addressed as a claim 13?
Tiffany just sent me the director's billing and the staff recovery cost. She said no invoices had came in as of yet from anybody, so it's probably just gonna be that unless invoices come in.
Okay, and you're gonna have that at the next meeting?
Yeah, it'll be in draft form for the planning, for the ad hoc meeting, and then it usually gets approved in the planning meeting.
Right.
Okay, can we move on to number 12 then?
Yes.
Discussion vote update on FPPUD meter replacement project and emergency well supply project. Discussion vote update on going out to bid for well 7.
Guess that's to me.
Where we at?
Okay. Plans, excuse me, plans and specs will be out at the end of the month for the board's review, and we'll send those to the state as well. And then upon approval of those by both the board and the state, then we'll advertise for bids. Well, we'll make I'm sure there'll be some
That's
comments.
That's on the meter, not on the well, correct?
Yeah, talking about the meter,
Oh,
sorry.
we're talking about the well first. A is the well.
The bids on the well are due on the 26th of January. And we're thinking we may push that a week or so. There were 3 drillers that were interested, expressed interest. 2 of them, Johnny, that you had referred us to. One of those has already decided not to bid, but the other one appears to be interested. And then Bakersfield Well and Pump has expressed their interest as well. So we may want to push that a week or so, but right now they're scheduled for the 26th of January.
And D, you know you'll be copying Director Garcia now on with everything and not me.
Okay. All right. No.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I think I might have skipped you, D, on the email I sent out, now that I think about it.
We changed the ad hoc committee, and Director Garcia and Director Schoenberg is on this state update with the meter well replacement. So I got kicked to the curb. So
well, we'll miss you, Brahma.
I'll miss you guys too.
But we welcome
No, you
you.
won't. Come
Don't
on.
worry, I'll still give you hell in the meetings.
There you go. Okay, so moving on to B, discussion vote on site access through the Saya property.
I think we were gonna, I started filling you in on the meter replacement plans.
Yeah.
And so that's, we're targeting the end of this month. The drafts will be out for the board to review and the state to
But-
review.
But wait, what did we do on B? Are we doing anything on B? You're on C, D. We're on B,
Oh,
discussion on site access to say a property. And actually, I have a question. Our next meeting isn't until the 27th, so don't we want to decide tonight on A before we move on, whether we want to go an additional week or not?
Why don't we, would it be possible to,
Or we need an approval for the
Mhm.
ad hoc to talk about that on the 20th and make a decision on the 20th?
that would be good.
Mm,
Last time, I believe I just approved it myself because of nobody bidding. So it would be good if you guys approved the ad hoc.
yeah. It sounds like what we need to do, right?
What,
Absolutely.
I think you should make a motion.
I make a motion that we give the ad hoc committee the authority to push the bid back if necessary on the after the state update meeting.
Okay,
Needs a seconder.
okay.
I'll second that.
Discussion
I'll
vote on
second that
amendment.
No,
motion.
Terry has seconded it. Director.
Oh,
Gibson.
sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Director Garcia,
Abstain.
Director Helling,
Aye.
Director Nyman,
Aye.
Director Schoenberg,
Abstain.
Director Gibson is an aye, so is it 3-2-0, right?
302,
3-0-2, okay.
2 abstentions.
So now we will move on to C, discussion vote on amended plans and specifications for meter replacement.
There
Well,
you go.
did we finish B?
No.
Okay, what else do we need to discuss about B?
We haven't discussed
About
anything.
side access.
I think, can I pass that along to you, Johnny? I think kind of where we left
Yeah,
it
no.
before everybody got infected with COVID was we need to make some contact with the superintendent or continue that that contact that you've made, Johnny, with them.
Yeah, I think I've gone as far as I could without maybe trying to decide to go ahead and offer a payment amount and an agreement and all that. I thought where we were was we already got the unofficial authority to go ahead and gain access. And then the thought was when we get the property appraised along with that access, if we decide to proceed with purchasing all that, then it would null and void the access because it would be our property. I could be wrong though.
Yeah, I think we just needed to include any site access we needed in the appraisal as well, if we actually need that, or if it needed to be an easement. Because I think there was some question about entering from the other side of the property if we needed
There was a
to.
pipe, there's a pipe easement included in the appraisal, correct? It either goes from the new well on say a property
Right,
to well five.
but the well that we're redoing, didn't we need to have access for that also?
That's what we're talking about. If we would go in through Saya Gate and then traverse the same path that we will run mainline if we purchase that land and go through the easement that's already right there next to well 5.
Right, but what if we need that access? Okay,
Prior.
well, yeah, but you know what? That's on it. I forget my question because I'm out of order because that's not what this is. This is just dealing with oh no, that is what this is. Okay, too many things.
Oh,
Too
no.
many pans in the fire. Yes, this would be the emergency well, so this would totally pertain. So yes, we may need that easement before we ever get appraisal of the property for the well 8, which is on a different discussion item, a different agenda item.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I already got verbal permission from the caretaker who got it from the owner of the property. So again, unless we decide that we want to pay some type of a fee like we did the last time to do the test well, I think that we've done as much as we can, and then just be prepared for if we had to force access, we would have to do it like we did last time.
Okay, that's good.
I mean, that's my thought. And unless Dee has another option, something that we could pursue in the meantime.
You know, I think both options are good. One is the one that you're discussing, Johnny, and that is, you know, making some kind of informal arrangement for access. And I think we'd follow that up with a letter, kind of an informal or formal letter agreement that says, you know, we agree that you can access the site, you know, something to that effect. We can talk with Alan Dowd about that. Then the other part of it is once we get the appraisals for well number 8 and the easement that goes from well 8 to well 5, we'll know what the cost is, and maybe we'd have a little bit more documentation and we could say, look, we'll pay, you know, 1/10 of this or something like that for just temporary access until we put together a deal on the site. So I think there's a couple of things that we can do. And I think we have a little bit of time in order to get that, because, you know, I'm guessing that we won't be able to, you know, mobilize a driller for a couple of months, if that. It may be 3 or 4 months. So we do have a little bit of time on that. That's the replacement well for well 5.
Okay. Anything else on that particular, on B?
I have nothing.
Okay, discussion vote on amended plans and specifications for meter replacement.
Well, we
Is that you
discussed,
too, Dee?
yes, discussed previously, where, again, plans and specifications, for the meter replacement, we've targeted the end of the month. And the draft set will be sent out to the board and to the state, to Lawrence and Jesse. For review.
Okay, we amended the plans? Why am I not?
No, I don't know where that came from. They will be the plans and specifications, not amended, not yet. Once you guys get done with them, I'm sure there'll be some comments that we'll have to make some amendments for, but right now, no, it's the draft.
So is that a mistake on the agenda?
Yeah, it should be draft plans and specifications.
Okay. Got it. Okay, and then number D, discussion vote on going out to bid for meter replacement?
Again, once everybody finishes review, we'll maybe take 2 weeks to a month to go through the documents. I don't know how fast the state's gonna move on this, but once everyone is done, then we finalize the plans and we advertise it, put it on the street.
Okay, great. E, discussion vote on claims and payouts. Do we have any for this project yet?
We've sent out claim number 1 out to the state, and it's under review. I was in contact with Dee about some additional information that we needed. And the state gave us 7 calendar days from January 12th to respond. And basically, they just said if the information is not received by the date, it will be processed and the request will continue without the ineligible costs.
The interesting thing about that is, and I just got that today when I came into the office late today, but he's asking for backup for the mileage, and those bills actually have the mileage day by day. So we can send the worksheet. I've asked Gail to provide the worksheets to me, and so we can supply that, but I don't know what other backup, he's gonna need. These are miles that we put on our vehicles and traveling back and forth. So anyway, we'll provide that information. The thing that I think that look here, we get the comments today, I guess maybe today, Carlos, or the day before, yesterday maybe. And these are on bills that we sent out for October and November. And I'm wondering what the state is doing. Why is it that they're waiting November, December, 60 days and 90 days after we actually did the work to send us their comments so that we can provide more information? It's a little frustrating. Why not?
The thing was, Dee, that I sent out the claim last month with the invoices that were up to this point for the project. Because before then, we weren't even sure if we could start processing claims, and it wasn't up until I believe the end of November that we got the okay from Lawrence. And then I processed all the claims up through the end of this up through December. All the invoices, I'm sorry.
Okay, well, thanks. I appreciate it. It's just, it's seems like the state is really, really behind on a lot of the work that they need to do. And we have a number of grant type projects that, it's months go by before, they even send us a comment about it. And so anyway, thanks for that update. But certainly, I think the state could sure move a little bit faster.
But I don't know how they could have moved faster if we didn't submit to them, because that was the big issue. We didn't submit the claim.
We didn't submit the claim until December,
So-
like December
Right.
19th, right?
Right.
Yeah,
So,
that was our first claim.
Mhm.
So I think just if you could get that over right away to him, so hopefully
and
they
I
won't.
think if we need to, then we may need to cover things, D, if someone needs to be paid out and we're not able to put it on a claim and it's going too far, then that may be something where we have to cover it out of our own pocket and then have the state reimburse. Once the state pays the claim, we would reimburse ourselves.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. And we'll let you know when it gets to that point. But so, all right, I understand now what's going on or what happened. Thank you for the update on that.
Okay.
Also, one more thing, I just wanted to point it out. The budget for plans and specifications for both the mill, for both the meters and the well, it was $20,298. And with the previous claim, with claim one, we used up about $18,131. So from December, Tiffany sent me an invoice from D for plans and specs work on the meters for $2,165, which puts it over the budget amount. So I wanted to ask, we're going to have to do a budget revision and send a letter to Lawrence for this. But I wanted to ask if we foresee any more charges for plans and specs for the meters in the next month. That way we can try to ask for it all amount versus doing one budget revision right now and then having to do another one next month.
Sounds good,
If
Carlos.
that makes any sense.
Yeah, it sure does.
Yeah.
We'll get our heads together and look at what we think it's going to be from now to the time that we actually issue these things for bid. Okay. And then we'll contact you and do that.
And Dee, will you get back to, is it Carlos that said he needed to get some information from you within, was it 10 days, Carlos?
It's Oscar. It's 7 days.
Oscar, okay, sorry.
It's for the backup for the mileage, which we kind of already talked about it. And
okay.
D said he was going to give me some information, and we can always send that information to Eric at the state, and then include D in there and see if that's sufficient or or if he can be more exact to what other information it is that he needs.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Thanks,
So,
Oscar. And Gail had provided that, and it's on my desk now. So I'll make a copy and then send it to you tomorrow.
Okay, awesome.
Moving on to number 13, discussion vote on pipeline replacement project. Is this part of the state-funded stuff, or do we need to get the time?
This is state-funded stuff.
Okay. A, discussion vote on project application. Pipeline project application.
Well,
Somebody got some,
Well, we're not doing any application until we have to do the potholing and stuff. So really, we're waiting on the technical assistance work plan.
Can we get an
Oh.
update on that, where we're at with
yeah,
the contract between?
that's in the state's hands right now. They're reviewing it. So, if they have any revisions that they need done, they'll send it back to us. They haven't sent it back yet, so it's just a waiting game now.
But we're supposed to have approval by when? By February?
They said that by February they should have approval.
Is that the end of February or the beginning of February?
By the end of February.
They're just not giving us much time to get started on our work.
But the start date for this project has been given since a long time ago. The only thing is somebody's gonna have to carry the costs, and that's the only issue.
Well, the issue is that we can't start any work until you have your work plan to get reimbursed. Otherwise, we would have had D working on it already.
No, you can start the work, you just won't get reimbursed until it gets approved.
Well, see, that's not what I understood in our last meeting. In our last meeting, I understood we had to wait till we had the work plan and the contract signed before we could start work.
I sent the message to you and Lisa a while back, explaining that they had given us a start date since a long time ago, except you guys didn't want to fork up the money, which is going to be, I understand you guys don't want to use your money to pay for this and then wait to get reimbursed. And then I asked D if he was able to carry the cost, and he said he would look into it and see how they're doing, and he would get back. So I don't know if D has decided whether he can carry those costs, or if you guys are just gonna have to wait till the.
Well, I guess my
work plan is
question,
approved.
my question to D is because for the potholing and mapping, I mean, don't you have to bid that in order to get started on that, D?
Well, there's a couple of things that have to happen. One is any contractor type work has to be through the district, because our Arizona emissions insurance doesn't cover construction type work, and a major part of this is backhoe work and other type of work that is probably a couple $100,000. So it's way more than we can front, that's for sure.
And
so-
even, I was gonna say, even though we have a start date, I think we discussed that we kind of had a problem with that as well, because there still isn't really a contract signed between the state and self-help. So I think we really wanted to just see that in, writing completed, ready to go before we were ready to move forward.
Mhm.
Our time.
Maybe we could check with Lawrence at the next ad hoc meeting and see where he thinks that we stand on that.
okay. I don't know even where we're at now. It seems like we're hopping around. Are we on C?
We're on
Discussion? Huh?
13C.
Discussion vote on scope of work.
Well, that was prepared months ago and submitted to the I think to you, Carlos, or to the state, maybe through you to the state. So that's.
Yeah, this is
yeah.
just both C and, well, actually, C is just the work that D was gonna do under she for this project. And I needed that to input it into the work plan along with the budget so we can submit it to the state for approval. And that's been done.
Okay. And moving on, number D, discussion vote on potholing and mapping.
It's pretty much what we're talking about right now,
Okay.
Rebecca.
Funding thereof.
I guess the question I have is at some point in towards the end of February, I mean, when you bid, how long does it take to bid?
We'll have to structure that because it's going to be on a per hour basis or per day. Because, we've got lots of different locations and lots of different areas to pothole. And so it's the kind of thing that we have to get the contractors to compete on a per day basis, per crew day basis, that kind of thing. So that we'll have an idea of what those costs are.
Right,
every day.
but my thing is that don't we have to bid that and have kind of a start date, kind of when we would want to start? Because how long is that process going to take? Are we going to get approval by the end of February and then it's going to take us another month before we can start potholing or longer because they're not available or they're going to be available or I'm just trying to think about logistically. I mean, I think, we need to, I mean, I don't want to start before, before we get approval, but I'd kind of like to maybe in February, start the bidding process of like when we expect to start doing work, maybe, kind of have a date.
Well, see, and that's kind of part of the problem is if we can't spend any money before we get everything signed, we can't do any of the prep work for D to get ready to go out to bid.
He's not saying that we can't spend any money. I mean, the thing is that but we're not going to spend $200,000 immediately.
Oh no, I agree. But
I mean, when if we're starting in, let's say, March or April 1st, I mean, you're talking how much per day for that period as they continue to pothole.
So what can we do right now, D, that would help expedite going out to bid as soon as we got the funding agreement signed?
And I'm not saying it has to be done this month, but I'm just saying we need to start thinking about maybe for February about getting things together so it's prepared so that we could go out to bid. Because even if you have to submit us some bills, I don't think that your bills are going to be, $50,000, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, D?
Sure. Yeah. No, we can start putting together draft plans and specifications. Really requests for bids and what the crew looks like and a daily rates kind of a thing so that we have competition among a number of different contractors, hopefully, that would want to come up with a backhoe and a crew and
because I don't know in that budget what your preliminary work, what that cost is. I mean, because that's something that I don't think it's that difficult for us to maybe cover because like you said, we can do some work and we'll get reimbursed. It's just that we're not going to get reimbursed immediately and but we don't want to up front, we can't come up with $200,000 or $300,000. So, but we can do some preliminary work. I mean, I don't know what the board thinks, but that's just my question.
Maybe the thing to do would be for me to put together a budget for this preparation of plans and specs to get a request for bids for backhoe and crew. And,
It's
you
going to
know,
be
then I
backhoe
can shoot
crew
it
and,
over to
and
you.
it's also going to include a vac truck, right?
Pardon?
Backhoe crew. Did we decide not to use a vac truck as well, or are we just going
Yeah,
to go
there's,
with?
we've got to really cover that whole thing, Johnny, and that is vacuum truck, backhoe. We even had some ground penetrating radar
Oh, yeah,
days
that's
of
right.
that too. So we'll have to think about how we want to fashion that. And, you know, I'm sure that the guys that provide the backhoes aren't going to be the guys that will do the vacuum truck, nor will those, but the vacuum truck guys, some of them have the capabilities of doing ground penetrating radar. So we'll have to
Oh, okay.
think a little bit about how we want to put that together. And, you know, it's going to be a daily rate type of thing for a
Right.
crew that'll, you know, that'll be comprised of certain people doing certain things.
Right.
So,
My thing is that you do your preliminary work that you need so that when we're ready to go out to bid, that we have that stuff ready to go so that all of a sudden we don't get approval and then we have to wait because we haven't done any of that preliminary work. You know what I'm saying?
yes,
That's all I'm saying. I would like some input from other directors.
Yeah, I think you're talking about staging, having things ready to go. So when you get the funding, then it's a day or a week or so startup as opposed
Right,
to
because
two months
D
down the road.
D will submit an invoice for the work that he does, and that's something we can discuss. If he can wait, he can wait to get payment so we can put it in, or if we have to cover the cost. I mean, like I said, it's not going to be, it's not going to be, $50,000 or $100,000
Not
to
gonna
do
break
this
the bank.
preliminary work. That's what I'm saying.
Well, why don't we table it until D puts together the rough outline that he was talking about doing, and then we could bring it back to the first
Yeah.
board meeting after he's done.
That's fine. I just was wanting some input from other directors, but obviously I'm not getting any. So, yeah, we can do that.
yeah, we'll put
I mean,
together.
it would be great if Dee could have the preliminary stuff set up so that we could have a flow into just boom doing it, right? As soon as we got approval.
Right. In other words,
Right.
we would have plans and specifications prepared
Double
so that we could, when we get the approval, we could put them on the street.
What are your thoughts, Director Schoenberg?
I'm just still a little concerned that we don't have any kind of contract or any funding at this point. And I just, even though they approved a date, I'm just a little concerned about, I mean, we were going to spend some money anyway on this if we didn't get the grant, but I mean, my only concern is that we're just not, I think we just need to know what that amount is, and if we're really willing, if for some reason things fall through or anything like that, that we're okay paying that.
Okay, can you work that up for us, Dee?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So, moving on to 14 and discussion vote update on CALO's community power resiliency allocation to special districts. Do we get time now?
And I think it's time for myself and Oscar to probably check out.
Thank
Okay,
you,
so
guys.
we're done with the state funding stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And
We're starting
one other thing too, before I check off is, Lawrence wanted us to understand that even if if you guys would have chose to have gone with DDW, it was still going to take a long process to get the funding. They weren't just going to give you the funding. You still had to do all kinds of stuff. So that's something that he can explain more at the state meeting, but he just wanted us to understand that it wasn't going to be just, oh, here's the money, start your work. You still had to do the same process we're doing now. That's the same thing you would have to be doing with their funding as well. But he'll explain it in more detail when we ask him at the state update meeting. And with that, you guys have yourself a good night, and we'll talk at the next meeting.
Good night,
Good
Carlos.
night,
Thank you,
guys.
Thank you,
Oscar.
guys.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Dee, I'll connect with you tomorrow regarding the budget revisions for the plans and specs for the meters. That way I can draft the letter and have it approved by the board.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Oscar.
Good night.
Bye.
Okay, at 8:46, we're going into the discussion about the Palos Community Power Resiliency Allocation. Is that you, Tiffany?
No,
Oh,
that's
that's
about
D.
the generator purchase and stuff.
Okay, so a discussion vote update on the purchase of the
You
generator.
have an update, D? I have a.
Donna, did you have something to add or to contribute there?
No, I just know I talked to Curtis. He said that we're still, everybody's been holding up the final specking out to make sure that we got the right generators. We still haven't got a delivery date for the generators, but he was pushing to make it happen. I know when I dropped off the deposit check and I talked to Greg at PTS, his impression at that time would be that we would possibly get delivery in February, but with all these supply shortages and holdups from COVID, everything's been held off. So I don't know if you have a further update from the last time I talked to Curtis or not.
I do. And really what's going on here is we asked for load calculations. We got to make sure these generators are the right size. And so load calculations for each one of the generators for each one of the sites, we got them. And we recognized right away that they were doing the load calculations based on what we call a soft start type of starts, which is a soft start rather than across the line. And when you put a pump on across the line, immediately there's a surge of power and amperage to get that pump up and running. The soft start brings that pump up to speed gradually. And so we don't have soft starts on our pumping plants. And so Curtis said, look, you got to run these things for across the line. And so they did and turned them in today. And Curtis looked at them and said, the calculation showed less of a demand with it across the line starting than with the soft starts. And so immediately he called them up and said, it doesn't make any sense. It should be the other way around. And so they're to be running those and hopefully getting those back to us tomorrow. But it just seems like it's taken forever to get these guys to put the calculations together so we can make sure that we're getting the right generators. Johnny, the thing that you ran into with that big generator that you have is that it was only running at, a very small percentage of the capacity of the generator. And that's an issue. And it's an issue with these too. And so we have to make sure that these guys are sizing these things correctly so that we don't run into the same issue that we're dealing with the big generator that we already have.
I have a concern though. Do we know anything in terms of Cal OE?
I agree. So we might have a more firm update in 2 weeks at the next meeting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
My thing is we've given them a deposit. So I mean, I would hope that they already know what we're expecting. They need to get onto these calculations and get them correct. so we can get them ordered, because then their next excuse is going to be, well, we didn't order them, you gave us the money a month ago, but we're just ordering them now, so we're not going to be able to give you the generators until.
Well, you're
Johnny?
talking about two separate people, I believe. I mean, PTS Rentals is who's actually doing the PTS Rentals is who we gave the deposit to. And if I understand it right, they're kind of like the contractor. They're going to purchase the generators, but the people that we're getting these calculations from aren't the people that received our money. So PTS is probably doing everything that they can to attain what we need, but we can't just go ahead and plow forward until Dee and Curtis feel comfortable with the
No,
calculations.
I'm not saying that
us.
we shouldn't, but I'm just feeling like they're not moving very quick. I would assume that the people that they're going to buy the generators from should be giving the information as quickly as possible.
One would think, Cromwell.
I agree. I'm just saying that we already paid. I think it's two separate entities. All.
I just don't want to end up having to
Greg-
give. I just don't want to end up having to give 100,000 or something back to Cal OES. That's my biggest concern.
I totally get it. We're all pushing as hard as we can, including PTS. So that's all I'm saying is that it's not as simple as, you gave a car dealer $10,000 and now you want your car. It's not that simple, because that is who the end result who got the money is. I don't think that's the situation right now. So we'll keep on pushing.
Thank you.
One last question on that. Do we have any information or anything from Cal OES? Any change in information on what might happen if we don't meet March or whenever it is supposed to be? April?
Tiffany, have you
No,
heard
they
anything?
haven't sent any updates, but as soon as we have a delivery date, if it's past the March deadline, I think the first thing we would do is email Cal OES and let them know the situation.
Okay. I'd like to, before we go on to the next item, I'd like to move, if we're done with this item, that we extend the meeting to finish business. And I'd also like to make 2 more agenda changes. So first motion, I'd like to move that we extend the meeting
I second the motion.
business.
Okay, Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman,
Aye.
Director Schellenberg,
Aye.
Director Gibson is an aye, so it's 5-0-0. Okay, thank you, Director Schellenberg. The rest of your motions?
Second motion is I'd like to move that we table the minutes in the interest of time, because we have some other important stuff we have to cover until our next meeting, January.
I second the motion.
Okay, Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman,
Aye.
Director Schellenberg,
Aye.
Director Gibson is an aye, 5-0-0.
Okay, and the next motion, even though I don't want to do this, is I would like to move that we table the reading and discussion on the employee handbook in light of the fact that we need to get the ad hocs straightened out, and that's going to take a great deal of time, I think. So
I second the motion.
Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman,
Aye.
Director Schellenberg,
Aye.
Director Gibson is an aye, 5-0-0. Okay, so now where are we at, kiddos?
15.
Discussion vote on Community Water System COVID Relief Program.
Okay, so this will probably be the last update, and then we can remove it off the agenda. So I believe it was in December, the weeks kind of go together. We did receive the full check from the state. And as part of the requirements, they required us to send 2 letters to the accounts that were delinquent during the COVID period. One, letting them know that they have 30 days to enter into a payment plan before they're eligible to be locked off. And then the second letter we had to send them was the amount of credit that they received toward the account and the fact that the money came from the state program. And it was, that part was all worded. They told us exactly what to put in the letter. So those 2 letters were sent out and all of the accounts have received their credit. So they'll have basically the month of January to contact us and get on a payment plan. And those who don't contact us will be eligible for disconnection come February 1st.
Great. Thank you for your hard work, Tiffany.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Tiffany. Okay, number 16, discussion vote on well 5 blending station and purchasing a nitrate analyzer. Hey, Johnny, is that you?
Yeah, me and Dee. I know the last time I seen something, Jesse Dollywall's been on us, but Curtis had spec'd out the type of analyzer that we needed for well 5, and it got sent by P&J Electric up to Hawk, who is the supplier. They took a long time to even get back a quote, and when they did, it wasn't what Curtis had spec'd out. So Curtis had to send it back to him, and I think today he was reaching out trying to get another update.
Okay, are we on some kind of time constraint about that too, Johnny?
Well, I mean, the state's pushing for it, but the state has to be patient like everybody else. You know, we can't do anything more than what we're doing. So we can't make a $30,000 analyzer materialize. So
Yeah, do we have a price on that?
well, it's roughly around. That's what I'm saying. The quote came back for the wrong analyzer, so it doesn't matter. So we got to wait till the new one comes back. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
It is roughly around $30,000 though.
Whew.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 18, discussion vote on quote for purchasing a backhoe.
Before we move on, I just had a quick question. Because we were talking about the blending also, but really that in a lot of ways can't happen unless can't happen correctly or efficiently unless we end up with well number 8, because it may be too difficult to do that correctly based on the current logistics of what we have. Is that correct?
No, that's not correct. What it is I keep on trying to push Jesse off on that for 2 reasons. One, we're hoping to have a new well drilled, so why spend all that money to do it? 2, regardless of what we do, it's going to be another full year, 4 quarters of being below 80% of the legal limit before we're releasing the nitrate letter anyway. I believe that the last result was actually below 8, but we had to change labs, so I'm waiting to set up the website to get that result. But the last nitrate level from last month, I believe, is below even 8. So even without blending, we should be in compliance, but it's still going to take a full year before they let us off of sending the letters and everything anyway. So,
Which just causes confusion and stuff with the customers, but.
Well, even if the customers didn't know anything about it, why spend money for a blending station if we don't need to use a blending station?
I agree.
So,
but every time people get a letter, they all freak out again.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're going to get that letter regardless. We could be at a 5 right now, and they still going to get the letter for 12 months.
Yeah.
Regardless. So,
unless we have the new well completed, in which case.
Then maybe they'll do something different. But I suspect Jesse's still going to make us go through at least a couple quarters, even with the new well. But Dee would have more input on that.
Okay.
I had to leave the room there for a second, but I heard kind of the last part of that. Yeah, we're going to be under that order for the time that that Jesse is designated. I think that was a year, Johnny?
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, we're gonna be measuring nitrates for a while, and submitting those test results. I believe the nitrate analyzer is on order, the correct one now, right, Johnny?
Well, I don't know. I was waiting for Curtis to let me know if he got the specs back on the correct one or not.
Let's see, I think we talked about that today a little bit, and I think what we're waiting for P&J to, I know they've made the order, but I think we need to find out when it's anticipated to be delivered, because it might be months out for delivery of the right analyzer that we need. So, well, I've got a note to check and have a little bit better information, you know, at the ad hoc meeting, or I'll find out tomorrow just what's going on with P&J.
Thank you.
Okay, so now can we move on to number 18, discussion vote on quotes for purchasing a backhoe?
Yeah, and I think we're done with D.
Before you move on, we missed the recess. Although I'm sure that we're probably not going to want to take it, but I think to ask that because we're beyond an hour and a half.
Okay, Director Schellenberg, does anybody want to take a brief recess?
Negative.
No.
Oh, thank you.
No.
Okay. Discussion vote on quotes for purchasing a backhoe.
Thank you, D. Have a good night.
Good night,
Good
Dee.
night. Good night.
All right, Dean.
Okay, so I ended up getting quotes. We obviously need a new backhoe. So it's kind of a, like always, every time I purchase equipment. So two comparable quotes are $114,000 for a baseline backhoe from Quinn, Caterpillar, and Coastline. That's $114,000. That doesn't include a trade-in or anything for either one. So so that's very comparable. Now, there's another one for $122,000. It's Caterpillar, and I could end up getting another quote from Coastline for their comparable model. But the reason I'm bringing that up is because in the hilly terrain, the county has found out that the 75 horsepower motor backhoes don't last as well. They don't go up and down the hills as well. They have to work harder. So they had bought a 90 horsepower Caterpillar. It's more stout. It's got 90 horsepower as opposed to 75. So it's good for going up and down our mountain roads. And because it doesn't have to work as hard, in theory, it's supposed to last longer. So that's $122,000. And the other models are $114,000 roughly, give or take. So as far as the trade-in goes, Caterpillar is going to try to get me a dollar amount. As you know, our backhoe is at Coastline, so I may have to go down next week with them to get them access to the backhoe. But it's kind of absurd because Coastline, they sent me a thing on the trade-in and said, well, if you spend $20,000 to repair it, then we'll give you $3,500 in trade-in. So we're gonna. You would think they would just, yeah.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
You would think they would just, they know what it's going to cost, but see, they want the markup on the repairs because they could probably do it for $10,000. So, but anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and get a quote from Cat, and if they give us anything reasonable, I'm going to recommend that we go ahead and take their trade-in without having to put any money towards it. It's pretty ridiculous to pay them a built upon price for parts and labor when they're just going to go ahead and turn it around and sell it. So I guess the first thing you guys need to do is decide if you're going to buy a backhoe. If you are going to buy a backhoe, which one and up to what dollar amount you're going to approve, and then I will make sure that I get the very best deal for that dollar amount.
Well,
how old's our backhoe?
Our backhoe, if you remember, I mean, the ones we're going to buy are brand new. The one that
Right,
died,
but
you guys,
the one we own?
We
Yeah,
bought it
you-
used.
yeah, you guys bought it used, and it did nothing. It was a money pit the whole time, and
Mm,
now thankfully it finally died. So, the one that I was asking for, the 90 horsepower. Let's see what the warranty is on that. The warranty is, I think 3,000 hours, which is quite a bit for a backhoe. 60-month, 3,000 hour powertrain, hydraulic and tech, and 12 months standard warranty for full machine. So, and I believe the other one might be the same. The 114,000 might be the same.
Well, I mean, I think, go ahead, Lisa.
Oh, I was just gonna say, if we got a little bit more out of it by spending whatever that is in difference, 9,000 or whatever, it
Yeah.
seems to be a good idea because just the repairs alone are so crazy expensive that I mean, I almost wish you could just tell us how much we've dumped into that back since we can compile that, but
I don't know,
it's
because you guys dumped 10 grand in it before I ever even started.
I know it's been very, very expensive. So I almost think that for the, extra, it's not a huge difference that if we actually going to get more out of it and it's more robust and going to do a better job for us, that almost, just makes sense up front.
Yeah,
I
and
agree.
Thank you. Yeah, and there's always the maintenance cost. And we just spent $1,900 on the skid steer today when I picked it up from Caterpillar because it had issues going on. So I took it down and went down and picked it up. So the cost is still going to be there, but something that's going to last longer without major repairs is definitely going to be cheaper.
What's the difference on things like tires? Because the tires on the other one
Same
are
thing.
larger.
Nope,
the
same thing. The frame apparently, the skeleton of the backhoes are the same. The only difference is in the horsepower of the hydraulics, and probably the size of the hydraulic pump. I mean, I don't know all the tech details, but so you get better horsepower on the same frame. So everything else is going to be the same.
Not straining as much when you're doing all digging or whatever you're doing with it, as opposed to being
exactly.
It's not a beefier body; it's just a beefier
powertrain.
The right powertrain.
Yeah, which is good because even just the old one and even our Gannon box, our John Deere that we got for free, when you're driving on Mount Pinos, if you guys have ever passed us, we're doing about 5 miles an hour because it's barely got enough power to climb those hills. So apparently that's why the county went with the 90 horsepower. So it helps combat that too. So you could drive around more effectively and efficiently.
Okay, I'll go ahead and move that we authorize the purchase of a backhoe of the sturdier model for the $124,000 limit.
So it'd be a 2022 model 416 backhoe loader.
I'll accept that friendly amendment.
And I have another friendly amendment that we take the money out of the SLA account for that item.
I also accept that friendly amendment. Thank you, Lisa.
A second on that amendment? On that motion?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Director Garcia?
Aye.
Director Killing?
I abstain.
Director Nyman?
Aye.
Director Schoenberg?
Aye.
Director Gibson? Aye. So it's 4, 1 abstention. No, 4-0, 1 abstention, right?
Yep.
Correct.
And we didn't include in the motion, but that is including what we can get on our trade-in for that. And are we gonna have to pay if we to move that from Coastline to Cat, or is that something they would pick up?
I don't know. And if we're not willing to spend $20,000 to get 3,500, then who knows if we'll have to haul it out of there anyway. If they don't want to just buy it outright for a trade-in and Caterpillar don't want it, then we would have to pay to have it moved. So that would be, I don't know what it was, an extra $1,500 or $2,000 to move it. But I'll check into all that.
You're gonna check into that, but yeah, basically you have the go ahead, so.
Thank you.
Okay, so number 19, discussion vote on I don't even know how to say that. Delineating the ad hoc committee tasks and preparing reports.
Right, and I think, I don't know if our secretary is willing to do this or Tiffany is willing to do this, but I think the first thing that we need to do is we need to list all of the tasks we can possibly think of that need to get done, and then designate which ad hoc would be dealing with those. The reason this is coming up is that we run the potential of a serial meeting every time the whole reason we had become like one gigantic, ginormous ad hoc was because all of this stuff interacts or I guess crosses over sometimes, like budget crosses over with other financials, that the book asset crosses over with stuff. It all crosses over. And so we run the risk in between meetings of serial meetings, and we already came close to that in a previous item that happened with the project committee. So I think we need to be really, really, and this, it may take more than this meeting, but I think we need to at least, spend as much time this meeting as we can, making sure, I'm hoping we can do it this meeting, but setting up, but we may come up with some additional things next time, but I thinking of everything we possibly need to take care of, what ad hoc it goes to, and how we address potential crossover stuff so that we don't have serial meetings. That makes sense. So, but
how does it turn into a serial meeting? I don't understand.
So if Brahma and I have been working on the project committee, and now Jerry and I are working on the project committee, and we need to ask Brahma something in between to allow us to make a decision on something in between meetings, that's verging on a serial meeting, or has the potential to become, if part of the decision-making process is the interaction of more than two directors together on a particular item. So yeah, so it can be really, so like one of the things that, Jerry was saying to me is, I'll call Brahma and ask him some stuff about, what you were doing on the project committee. And I said, no, you won't. It's like, you can go get the minutes from Tiffany. So, so it's a lot of that. And there's already some of that going on because, that's why we discussed a lot of stuff in this meeting tonight, was so that we don't have these kind of outside of the meeting crossovers between three, discussions between three directors, basically. So I think, this is going to come up with the auditors with the audit. So we need to make sure that we're, clearly delineating who's going to be doing the audit, and that we not be talking to other directors except during the meeting, the regular meetings. So same thing with the budget. The budget crosses over with, asset stuff, crosses over with I think it's good that we created all these ad hocs, because it gets people involved and it makes it much easier for us to do rotations and things when we need to do that. but we just really need to be aware of our potential for serial meetings, because the items, especially all the financial items, cross over. So even when the two people are doing the accounts receivable, there's a potential for that crossing, for asking other directors other things, or so it's just, I think we just need to sit down, and we just really need someone to write all of this stuff down. I don't know if Tiffany is willing to do that, or if our secretary is willing to do that. But just to kind of put down, brainstorm, and think of all the different things we need to accomplish and what committee that can go in, and then just be really aware that you cannot be, discussing with another member in between meetings, those items. So if you need to
Okay,
ask,
well, you must have some kind of idea about the tasks, right?
yeah, I have some idea of the task, correct. So maybe we need to write down right now the obvious, because when we were doing the reports, that wasn't even obvious to everybody, even though they're on the ad hoc, what it is that they're really doing, or what the ad hoc's called. So I think the very first thing to do is to name out all the ad hocs that we have, just to make sure we're all on the same page of that. So it's like the one ad hoc right now is I'm not even sure what they're all called, so I'm gonna go back to our front page here. So for instance, the accounts receivable ad hoc. So accounts receivable, do we want to just, so accounts receivable is right now it's Terry and Becky, and that ad hoc is responsible for going back in time on accounts receivable to make sure that we haven't incurred other errors that may not be caught by when we're doing the when we're automatically scanning things, that it's possible, as we found out, to make a mistake and not be able to catch it easily. Bank caught the last one, but we probably want to go back through, because we had overcharged a customer for something they shouldn't have been charged for, and luckily the bank caught it really quickly and we were able to reimburse them. But that's that committee is probably not going to run into too many issues, but I don't know, we might brainstorm and see if there's anything that might cross over. But there's that committee.
I'm saying that this committee is just gonna do what they do, and then we can do what the ad hocs have done in the past and just present our information at a regular meeting.
Correct. So, and that was the other thing that I wanted to bring up, is that in the past now that we have like so many ad hocs, I think we almost need like a little, obviously the project ad hoc doesn't need a report because we have minutes, because Tiffany is part of the state meeting. And so unless there's something that happens in between the state meeting, which like this month there was, so that letter happened. So we just need maybe even a little form or some kind of report, so that we don't forget to inform the other, because really the only time you're going to be able to inform and get input from the other directors is during the regular meetings. So that was the other thing I wanted to mention, is that, it's easy to forget stuff if you're tired or whatever when the meeting comes up, and there probably needs to be some way of tracking, short of, I certainly don't want Tiffany to have to sit on every ad hoc and take minutes. That would be crazy. So for her, and I don't want to, I don't think we need that. So just maybe some sort of form or something that just, it doesn't have to be complicated, just something that people could handwrite or whatever, but just to jot down what was accomplished in that particular span of time in between meetings. So it's basically a couple of weeks. And so that it's not, so that it's reported on and discussed during the regular meetings.
Okay, so what I have so far.
Formal?
That's
you want
what
something formal?
I'm suggesting it be not formal, like you have to turn it informal, but formal enough that you remember to report, I mean, on that particular committee, there's probably not much. On the budget committee, there's probably a lot more. On the book asset committee, there's probably a lot more, so depending on which committee we're talking about, accounts payable, there's a lot more. So, so it's just,
Well, we report on the accounts payable when we do our financial.
right. So that one is, there's a little bit more time, I think, taken on it than some of the other ones. So I'm just suggesting that in the number 7 agenda item, that sometimes we can be really sort of short or forget things between, that maybe we just need something that we're jotting down so that everyone knows what's going on, because the only time we're going to be able to discuss that or inform people is at the meetings, at the regular meetings.
Okay, so
It's just
I have accounts receivable is an ad hoc committee. The tasks that it does is going over the accounts received, the banking, and then report for a regular meeting. So when you say to list all the tasks, that's all the tasks for that particular ad hoc, right?
most likely, but I think there's some other tasks that we need to assign, and so once we kind of get the really obvious things, then we need to figure out like who's doing the audit, for instance.
Okay, so project committee. Shall we do that one next?
So sure. I mean, I know for sure project committee is dealing with every single crazy project we have going on right now. So so it's dealing with the Lake of the Woods FPPUD consolidation. It's dealing with the pipeline. It's dealing with the well 5 meter, emergency well 7 project, whatever the long name of that is. So that's 3. It's potentially dealing with the Cal OES in between stuff.
Meter installation replacement.
Yeah, I said that one. So that's
you know what, I didn't get them all because, okay, Lake of the Woods, the consolidation.
Okay. Take them straight off the agenda because maybe that makes a little bit more sense. So the under the project is the consolidation planning for Fraser Park Lake of the Woods consolidation planning.
Mm-hmm.
The FPPUD meter replacement project and emergency well supply project.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The pipeline replacement project.
Mm-hmm.
And the Cal OES Community Power Resiliency Grant.
Okay.
What about well number 8?
Well, so there you go. So now we have well number 8. So yeah, so I guess the well number 8 needs to be on there as well, which is actually maybe it's part of the Lake of the Woods, maybe it's not, because it's probably going to have to happen in between before it's probably not going to get funded by, it's not going to get funded by the Fraser Park Lake of the Woods consolidation. So you're correct in that. So well number 8 and potentially well number 9.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you proposing? Should you do like a?
Well, she said that
we
we have help because the minutes to that meeting are published. So
right.
That will become the report.
So we're responsible for the state meeting that happens the third Thursday of every month at 10 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So we're responsible for that. And Tiffany actually records those minutes. So we do have a pretty lengthy report. Even if we've forgotten what the heck's going on, we have minutes.
Okay.
Unlike some of the other kind of smaller ad hocs. but the crazy thing with that is, so is that also I guess the sphere of influence? I guess it can be. Is that also the MSR? Who's
Oh, geez.
so, I mean, I think it is, but I'm just saying there's a lot of extra stuff, but here's where it crosses over. So it crosses over when we come to the payouts for the claims. And it crosses over when we come to the treasurer moving money from an account to another account. So from the, say, Lake of the Woods account to the, so I would say that all of that needs to go under the accounts payable committee. However, it needs to be really discussed in the meetings because like tonight, we paid out money on a couple of claims, but we don't, it's weird because the project committee is going to know exactly, in the past, the project committee okayed that stuff ahead of time. But then the project committee is not the ones that are going to be approving it when we pay it. You see what I'm saying? So that's happening right now in the accounts payable committee. So it could get a little interesting on the crossovers.
I
So
don't understand that, Lisa, because
We don't
Wilma and we didn't,
we don't discuss it. I mean, Tiffany gives us when
The-
she
the
gets the
claim.
claim, when she gets the claim, she's giving us the invoice saying, hey, we got the claim and that's it. There's no discussion. And there's no discussion with
Right.
any other directors.
what if you think it's wrong?
Then I would discuss it with Tiffany.
Okay. So I'm just pointing that out. I'm just saying that has a potential of somebody saying, hey, Lisa, or hey, Jerry, blah, 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 because it may be in between meetings. So I'm just pointing it out. Tiffany and I were both like, oh, geez, there's a lot of potential for doing some odd things here. So we just have to be really careful. We weren't saying it's happening. We're just saying we don't want it to happen. Does that make sense? So just like you would just need to know that, yeah, you discuss that with Tiffany, and then Tiffany wouldn't really be able to discuss it with us because with Jerry and I until the regular meeting, because it would be a serial meeting.
how would that be a serial meeting because Tiffany's not on the board?
If we're agreeing on, it's still a serial meeting because there's more than one set of directors making a decision on something.
But I thought ad hocs didn't make decisions. They brought it to the whole board.
Well, yeah, sometimes we do make a decision for a moment, like that letter, that was a decision because it needed to go out right away. So yeah, it's supposed to go to the board, and we're supposed to vote on it. There are some times when, due to emergency or whatever, that it's had to be something that goes out immediately. Like it's happened a few times where we don't have time to bring it to a board meeting. And then we have to talk about it at the board meeting, but it's kind of after the fact because it already happened, because we didn't have time it had to be discussed in the ad hoc, and the ad hoc had to have been given permission. So which has happened in the past where the ad hoc, like we did it tonight, where the ad hoc has permission to make a decision. Right? Like we did that tonight. We voted on, I can't even remember what it was, but because I'm tired, but that Jerry and I have to, we voted on whether allowing the ad hoc to say whether or not we extend the bid time on a project. So that one doesn't cross over, but I'm just saying, I mean, the reason why I think all this is important is that I've already seen multiple circumstances where it can happen, like, you know, and that's why we have to designate who's doing what, like who's doing the audit, who's doing the backup of, so that we're not interacting with each other. So like still need to go over all of last year's stuff and make sure it's correct for the audit. And we still need to go over the P&Ls to make sure that they're correct for this year, which, you know, because we were playing catch up. So like Deborah was potentially going to go over that with me, but I don't know if that should happen because that may interact with the accounts payable committee.
No, why would that wouldn't, I mean, I'm not looking at the P and L from previous, that has nothing to do with the accounts payable committee.
Because you're never looking at it from any previous. Okay, well, I
Well, like
can't
in that, I'm just saying, like in that case, I mean, I don't know exactly what reviewing unless we're gonna have all those P and Ls brought up at the meeting to go over, have her go over them, or, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, we need to get our past stuff because we haven't had a financial, you know, we this was the first month that we actually had a more comprehensive financial packet. Right? So anyway, I mean, one in specifically is the audit. So, I mean, let's just name the committees and what we think they're doing, and then there's some floating stuff that we need to figure out.
Okay, so we've got project committee and accounts receivable done. So can we do accounts payable? What do they do? Bills?
we go over, we go over the bills and we make sure that they're being charged to the proper accounts.
Okay, are you doing transfers?
Well, I
Not the
will,
committee.
I will be doing, I as the treasurer will be doing transfers.
But yeah, but not as a ad hoc.
But that's not part of the ad hoc. That's part of my job as a treasurer.
Yeah, it could
But the
get,
thing is we've got to get it straightened out from when you had it, because at this point, I don't know what transfers you've made and what you haven't made from all the claims. I have no clue. I mean, that's something that we have to do.
so as long as that's not designated a part of the accounts payable committee and you designate me to do that with Brahma or however you want to do it, then we're okay. I guess that's what I'm saying. Like all this stuff has to be delineated because there's a lot of catch up to do still. So we still have P&L catch up. We still have, and maybe that can be under the book asset / P&L / audit. I don't know how you guys want to do it. I'm just bringing it up because it needs to happen. And it needs to not happen in a way that we're crossing over.
I thought the audit was all done through the bookkeeper, Johnny and Tiffany.
No, we always have.
I didn't know the board.
Me and Tiffany go through the majority of it with the auditor, and then there's a couple of different times at least that the ad hoc comes together to go over stuff with the ad hoc as well.
I don't remember an audit committee ad hoc since I've been on the board.
Because it hasn't been an ad hoc because everything was like smunched together as one thing. Like it was basically being handled by, in most of the time, the vice chair and or vice president and the treasurer. So because both of us had a lot of experience on the financial side, but that's not necessarily how that should be delivered. I mean, I'm just saying we just need to spell it out. I don't care how it happens. We just need to spell it out so that we're not accidentally having discussions that we shouldn't be having.
So then you want a ad hoc for the audit.
It doesn't necessarily
You
have to
want
be
to set up.
ad hoc, but it needs to be under something.
Well, I guess I don't understand.
Well, under the audit,
understand that.
what I guess the question under the audit, what task needs to be done under the audit?
It's just kind of checking, it goes back and forth a few times between the auditors and Johnny and everybody before, in the past we did that, Brahma, remember? So
I
it
don't
just,
remember.
oh,
I don't remember doing anything with the audit. I only remember us going over when we get the reports. That's the only thing I remember. I don't remember. I know that just Linda always made sure that she sent the information that was requested.
The board members always ended up coming in or to discuss and try to fix the asset list and stuff like that, because before the audit could be completed, it was always felt like that stuff had to be cleaned up as well before we could finalize the audit.
and
Well,
it still needs to be because we don't even know if all our assets are on the books right now. That needs to be dealt with by one of these ad hocs. So between us switching bookkeepers, I'm not positive, and I talked to Deborah that we need to do that. I just put out a bunch of tasks that we need to do. I don't know who's going to do them, but that's one of them, is that we need to make sure that anything we purchased really made it to the auditors, because they have to put it on our asset detail.
Well, things we purchased, that's very easy to do. The part that the ad hoc was going to help with was breaking out the different projects, the different sections of the different projects. As far as things we purchased, I mean, that's easy. I take a walk through the yard, I look at it, I go, okay, let's make sure that's on there. And then the booster station, those are the latest. So the only real thing,
The booster
question-
The booster station
and the Mini X.
yeah, that's what I said. And that would require walking through the yard. That's what I'm saying. It's
But
that
the
simple.
boost-
It's not
no,
hard to make sure
it's
our
not
assets.
it's not that simple, because something like the booster station is pretty complicated in the way that so I guess that should just be part of the book asset detail, what they're, but it's just, there's some complications on how it gets distributed in terms of how it gets categorized, because like you can't necessarily, in the past we had some weird stuff where the auditors were including all the engineering, like they would just take the lump sum of a grant, like we got 3.1 million from the USDA, and they just appreciated that as a lump sum, which cannot happen. It just makes it really difficult when we have to replace one component out of that, because it's all being depreciated as one big thing.
Well, the booster station is the easy part, because I've heard it discussed many, many times. The hard part is the other projects that we have. And that's what still, if we still want to break that stuff out, that's what
We're
still has to happen.
We're losing you.
The much bigger buildings.
And actually, the booster station is still not straightened out completely, so that's not that easy.
Okay, anyway. So,
But-
yeah, we'll knock it out.
So
Okay, are we getting anywhere?
yeah, I think so. So that can all go under the book asset committee, right? That's going to straighten out our assets, but are they also doing the audit?
Well, I
I'd
guess
say,
if the audit needs the assets, then I guess so.
Who is on the book asset detail committee?
Me and Brahma,
Well,
right?
Okay.
Brahma and Lisa. But I don't know if you guys have done anything.
So and all this stuff kind of crosses over a little with the budget committee. So the budget committee just needs to be really careful not to.
Yeah, I think so too. And and you're the crossover there, so hey,
Well, that's
don't talk to yourself about the other committee.
yeah. So okay, so let me just name the things that I think still need to be dealt with, but I was kind of hoping that you guys would help with some of this stuff too, so that we can put it under an appropriate place. But I know that we need to go back and do the P&Ls for the whole, like somebody needs to go through and check all that stuff with Deborah and make sure that
What's a P&L?
Profit
profit and loss statement.
Oh, okay.
So should that be under the budget committee? So accounts payable committee, you guys only want to do the bills.
Yes. And then as the treasurer, I do transfers.
Which, right, so all that stuff you were doing with Tiffany would have to happen under the project committee. So all of the checking of like the D Jasper invoices or you see what I'm saying? Like how that gets a little weird.
But until you give me the information and we get it cleaned up, until we get together and do it, I don't know what to do as my job as the treasurer.
Right. So
Because I don't know where you left off. I don't know. And I know that there's probably money that hasn't been transferred and I don't know how we're gonna break that down and zero that account out.
yeah, most of the transfers have happened, but there's still a few. There's some extra money that's still sitting there, and there's some stuff that hasn't.
Which we shouldn't have extra money there. I mean, when we get the claim should be taken immediately and said, okay, we're paying A, B, and C.
The extra money is not on the claim on that project. I don't think there's an extra money on that. That's still the extra money is because we haven't paid out everything. So there's money that sits in there until we pay it out the following month.
But like when you get the claim, you have to make the transfer of administrative costs and the meeting cost over to the operating account. And that should be done immediately and go down the list. We pay this invoice, and this invoice, and that should be all gone.
And that is gone, I believe. The money that's sitting in there is money that we have not paid out yet.
But why there should have already been an invoice because we put that invoice to that claim. So
right, but claims come in when we haven't done an invoice yet. In other words, like this, like let's say claim 10 came in, but we hadn't cut all the checks yet. Now claim 10 should be by now all paid out. But they cross over. So then when 11 comes in, you can't just immediately pay the money out because you have to wait till the next meeting when you cut checks. So there's always going to be money in there that's not paid out yet until the next meeting. All of the money from FPPUD should have been already transferred. Anyway,
I thought
that's
I thought the money didn't even hit the account until after the checks were cut and the board decided to approve them. And then you transferred the money into the account. I thought that's how it worked, but
no,
could be
not
wrong.
it depends on the account. So if we're talking about the Lake of the Woods FPPUD account, the money gets put in there not by any ad hoc. The money
No,
is
it's
put in-
deposited when the check
Right,
comes
it's
in.
deposited when the check comes in. So we put in a claim, the claim gets approved. So the claims are happening right now in the project committee. I mean, they were all kind of crossing over. That's what I'm saying. So right now, if we separate everything, the claim itself and checking the claim is going to happen in the project committee at the state meeting. So, Carlos is going to present that. Then the ad hoc is going to say yay or nay, or if there's problems, then it's going to come forward to the meeting, the regular meeting. In the regular meeting, we approve the claim. The claim goes out to the state, and then the money comes in, and the money's automatically not automatically deposited because we have to put it in because the state doesn't auto deposit. So the money comes into the front desk, and then that money is deposited in the account. And then at the next meeting, we're paying bills.
Right, but at that time, I mean, should be Tiffany notifying the treasurer, hey, claim 10 came in for this amount, and then I'm gonna take the claim 10 that we had already approved in the meeting, and I'm gonna look at that claim, and I'm gonna say, okay, Tiffany's gonna give me the invoices that were on that claim to go for payment, and then the rest of as long as we got the money, the exact amount for the money, and it's not different, then we'll then I make the transfer for our costs, like for the meeting and the staff costs.
Yeah, that's all fine. It only gets weird if something goes wrong. And then you just have to make sure that you're discussing that just with Tiffany and not going back to the project committee, unless you're talking to the project committee in a regular meeting.
That's fine. I don't
I know you understand that. I'm trying to make sure all the directors understand that. You understand it because you've been doing it for a while. I'm saying we already almost had a serial meeting. That's what I'm saying. So I'm saying that it's really important that we all understand that we can't just go to another director that was doing it previously or go outside of the meetings. Like, it's only whatever's designated in your ad hoc, that's what you do, and it only gets discussed among everybody or among more than 2 directors at an actual meeting. That's all I'm trying to do. I just don't know that everybody totally gets that because they haven't been doing it. You see what I'm saying?
But we have been going to meetings, and we have been listening to reports from ad hocs, and we have taken ethics classes, so we know, I mean, come on.
No, it's not a come on, because we almost had, it's just almost happened. Anyway, so all I'm saying is we need to be really aware, and we need to delineate what each group's doing. So we still don't have and I feel like you're all getting defensive and weird about it, and that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to say, okay.
No, I don't think I'm getting defensive, but if you say you want to make sure that all the directors understand, I can tell you that this director gets it. And I think it's good that we have so many ad hoc committees, and I was having trouble that so many were getting stacked, because to me it seemed not transparent. So I'm glad that we have several committees
That's
now.
not what I'm talking about at all. I'm talking about, we have several committees and we just need to make sure that the tasks are very delineated. That's all I'm saying.
What other tasks do you think needs to be put somewhere?
Okay, so the one I threw out there was the I'm tired. I am tired. We need to do the P&L. So whoever wants to do that, whatever committee, I'm not the one that needs to put this all in order. It just needs to be agreed upon by everybody. And then that needs to not come up in another committee. That's all I'm saying. And then we need to have the auditors. So the auditors need to be under one of these. It can be under an existing ad hoc that exists. It doesn't have to be another 10 ad hocs, but we just need to make sure we need to have the whoever is dealing with the if we're still dealing with the handbook outside of meetings, I think we're just dealing with it inside meetings, so we don't have to worry about that much, because we haven't done it outside. We still need to do the transfers of stuff and just double check that. So you just need to okay me doing that with the treasurer as something, as under one of these things that he's already on and I'm already.
Well,
You see what I'm saying?
then-
I can't just go in and meet with him.
Okay, I will move that we make a new ad hoc with Director Schoenberg and Director Nyman, sorry, strictly for you guys to get the transfers from treasurer to treasurer, which should only take one meeting.
Yeah. I don't even think it needs to be another, well, okay.
Need a second.
I'll second it.
You're the president. You can't second it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't, sorry.
Are you there,
You gonna
Jerry?
die on the floor?
Excuse me, I can't speak right now. I'll second it.
Okay, Director Garcia,
Aye.
he can't talk. Okay, Director Nyman,
Abstain.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Schoenberg.
Abstain.
Okay, so it's 3-2-0.
Wait, Director Gibson.
Oh, Director Gibson, aye. So it's 3-2-0. Thank you, Terry.
302.
Yeah, 3-0-2, sorry.
And
Okay,
then-
I am getting really tired.
I know. Can we just
Yeah, we all are.
Can we put the auditors under something that already exists? You guys, accounts payable committee, can you do that? Can you do the check on the audit stuff?
Okay, I'll check on the audit stuff with the accounts payable.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that entails, but
I'll just follow up with the bookkeeper, make sure that everything is out, and if she has any questions.
Okay. Okay, because otherwise it's a lot on all the other ones. So and then I'm trying to think what else. So asset, I guess what we can do is we can stop this here, and if there's some more that come up, can you think of anything, Tiffany? I know there's a lot of stuff that we still haven't taken care of. So did I talk about the?
No,
So
I was racking my brain, but I can
Well,
make notes as it comes up.
So can the P&L stuff be discussed with the treasurer to treasurer? Can we both look at
Oh,
that?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's critical right now. So critical right now is the audit, the P&L, the what did I just say? Audit P&L and the
The book assets.
the book asset stuff, yeah. And so yeah, so the book asset, we can give that information to Deborah, and then that can be just making sure that the auditors have it.
And you would like ad hoc reports on the second meeting of the month as well?
I think so,
Yeah.
don't you guys? I think we should be doing it like each meeting because there's just more people, so
It's on the agenda each meeting.
Yeah, just keep it on the agenda.
Yeah,
It
that's
was-
fine. That's fine, because if there's something, we can talk about it and,
okay, because it wasn't on the agenda each meeting, right?
right, it wasn't, so we should put it on there. That's fine.
Okay. Okay, I think that's good enough to start. And I know there's some other stuff I talked to Deborah about and I can't remember it. So for now, that's good enough.
Okay, then we'll move on to
Good night.
future agenda items.
I think Tiffany has everything at this point.
Tiffany, do we need to put, because the COVID resolution, do we need to do that at our next
That's the
meeting if
next,
we want to have
that's
the
the next
Zoom
meeting.
meetings on?
Yes.
Yes, correct. It'll be on next meeting.
Okay. So is there anything else to add? Are we pretty good?
I got a lot. I think we're good.
Okay, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay, so Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Kelling,
Aye.
Director Nyman,
Aye.
Director Schoenberg,
Aye.
Director Gibson, aye. So 5-0-0.
Thank
We're
you,
adjourned.
everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
At what time?
Have a good night.
We're adjourned at what time?
9:57.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, thank you.